ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, saints and ain'ts, congratulators, participators, manipulators, and all those here. Welcome to another episode of The Throne Room, also known as The Bigger Picture. We have Sean Bigga, man of God, here today, and with our most esteemed guests in the seat of esteem, Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar. Welcome.
Thank you, Queen. Glad to be here.
So glad that you are here indeed. One of the most prophylactic images and voices in the movement that we know as the conscious movement. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Glad to be here.
We are glad you are here. I like to start with what's going on because I have been a follower and a donator of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy.
Yes, ma'am. A supporter, not a follower.
A supporter, yes, indeed. One of the only school that is going to be funded by our community.
Yes, ma'am.
That is not going to be government run.
Correct.
It's not a charter.
That's right.
Not an actual institution of learning for
ma'am.
our young men and our young women. Tell us where we are with the
Frederick
academy.
Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, where we are right now. Day before yesterday, the plumbing contractors, they finished insulating the pipes. We had the inspectors out there, and the inspectors told us that the pipes had to be insulated. The plumber thought we didn't have to do that, but they said according to the new code, you do. So they just finished that up. We now have to get the drop ceiling racks leveled. We had them repaired last year, but they were not leveled. And so we don't want the ceiling coming down on our children.
No, we do
So we
not.
have to get the drop ceiling racks re-leveled, and then we'll put the tiles back in. We're going to have a paint day probably next month or early January. We have about 10 classrooms that either need to be tiled or carpeted. We're going to probably do that after paint day, so no paint gets on the new carpet or the new tile. But at this point, we're largely at cosmetics. We're at the end. The biggest challenge right now, to be frank with you, is the runaround that we get from the city. So, for example, we have windows in the school, and we took all the wooden boards off the windows, and somebody sent a brick through one of the windows. So we boarded them back up, and we're about to get that window repaired. But I want to put bars on the window so nobody can send another brick through. So I reached out to the fire department, and 2 or 3 times has not called me back. So I had the school's attorney reach out to the fire department 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been called back. So I'm not going to rush the judgment on that. But I'm sure if I was the complexion for protection,
Correct.
I would have already gotten an answer, because you're holding me up on getting that window repaired. And I want the metal bar up there so nobody can break it again, because those windows are rather expensive. They're about 8 feet wide, 8 feet tall. So we don't want any more, surprises. And then we have to get our final building inspection after we get the final fire inspection. Nothing that we shouldn't be able to pass. But again, when it comes to, our ability to communicate effectively with different departments in the city, they're often missing in action when we need them. And if I would say, I would probably argue that part of the reason for that evasive behavior is due to the fact they never thought we would finish up. They didn't think we would get the job done. And now that the job is done and we need them last 2 stamps, people ain't calling us back, people not showing up. But I'm going to be patient with it. But, push comes to shove, I might have to go to the mayor's office, and put some fire under those folks. And if he don't put no fire under them folks, then we might have to have a protest. I might have to bring the whole African diaspora to Wilmington, Delaware, to let them know that you're not going to do us like that.
Kemet wasn't built in a day, doctor. So we know this work that you're doing is going to change a whole entire generation.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe the generation thereafter.
Yes, ma'am.
And because Kemet wasn't built in a day, and there were so many hands on deck, there were so many minds on deck, why do you believe that we're not seeing the support for this movement? There's so much celebration about the paper schools, the charter school that Brother LeBron started. There's another charter here in New York City that Puffy is the face for. But this is something far more powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we not seeing the support?
Well, I would argue that we do have the support. We don't have the support from our celebrity class.
Correct. That's what I meant.
But we do have the support on the celebrity side, because I know many of them.
Yes.
I think the reason why we've never gotten a donation from a celebrity is twofold. Number one, they're very concerned about how it would look if they were seen with Dr. Umar Ifatunde. So on, you have that fear factor that I don't want to lose my relationship or access to the white power structure. I think that's one half of it. I think the other half of it is ego. When our celebrities put their money behind different causes, they like to brag about it. They want to be glorified for doing it. They can't do that with me because white folks are not going to be happy about them helping me in the first place. So if you help Dr. Umar, you have to do that very conspicuously, you see. And they don't want to do that. They want to put up the big check sign all over TV, all over the internet, CNN. You can't do that with me because I'm not popular with Caucasians, nor are they popular with me. And so for those two reasons, the fact they can't brag about any help and the fact that they could be some pushback for them helping me, they just stay away. But I'm not concerned about that, though. And the reason why I'm not concerned about that, as a student of our history, especially our revolutionary movements, most of our movements was built with the pennies and dollars of grassroots black folks. We were not financed by rich celebrities. There was always a Harry Belafonte here and a Dick Gregory here. But by and large, 99% of our grassroots organizations were built by the pennies of the brothers and sisters on the ground.
Absolutely.
So we don't come from a movement where the rich people financed it. We've never had that anyway. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy was built with the pennies and quarters of African people all across the diaspora. And to be honest with you, I think spiritually speaking, it was meant to be that way. Because if a celebrity did come on with a big check, I'm sure they would expect me to tone down this message, co-sign this message. I'm not going to do that. I lived my life as a free black man, and I didn't wait to get into my 40s to start compromising because the person who wants to subsidize me happens to be a political coward. I'm never going to play that game. I'm always going to be me. So if you're going to donate, but it's not coming with any stipulations. That's exactly why we're not charter. That's exactly why we're not public.
Thank you for that. That is where that says so much, because I think when we see the celebrities with the publisher clearinghouse check and the photos and the hugging the kids, it kind of reminds us of the political campaigns.
Yes.
Of the kissing of the babies and let me get the brownest baby in the crowd and hold them up, like Simba and the Lion King and kiss them. You do not want that kind of message, that misleading imagery, because what I hear you saying is this is going to be authentic.
Yes.
And the roots of it must be authentic.
Absolutely. We're serving African children for the benefit of the African community. This is not, a fashion show. You have a lot of schools out there that are fashion shows. They look beautiful, but nobody's learning. And no disrespect to my brother LeBron James, because I respect him. Black man, black wife, black children, great father. I respect him, but he is the face of that Akron public school that bears his name. And for the past 3 years, not a single black child passed the 8th grade math assessment in that school in the state of Ohio. 3 consecutive years, and nobody passed the math assessment in 8th grade at the LeBron James school. Now here's a celebrity pumping millions of dollars into this public school. It's not his. He don't control it. It's not his school. It's a public school, but he is a subsidiary of that school. He's subsidizing it. And for no 8th grader to have passed that math test, what is that telling you? It tells you that it doesn't matter how much money you pay white teachers to educate black boys, they're not going to do it right. See, everywhere else they will argue in New York City and Philly and Atlanta, LA, Houston, they're going to argue what? The teachers are underpaid. That's why they're underperforming. You can't use that excuse with the LeBron James public school. They're overpaid. And nobody passed the math assessment. I have always made this argument. Money is not the issue. It's how we prioritize school spending. And number 2, On the psychological side, if white people don't like black people, it don't matter how much money you pay them, they still not going to like black people. It's the same thing we deal with when you see these cultural sensitivity trainings. They'll come into the public school and give all these white racist women a cultural sensitivity training so they can relate to the black children better. If she don't like black people, I don't care how many hours of cultural sensitivity training she get, she still isn't going to like black people. It's a contradiction.
Correct.
So, just getting back to my point, I think the situation with the LeBron James school, is tragic, but it is also prophetic, because I've often told people money is not the issue with schooling. Look at Margaret Collins and what she did in Chicago with half the money. Most of our independent black schools function on half the money. Our independent religious black schools function on half the money with better outcomes. Money is not the issue. The number one predictor of academic success in the classroom is teacher expectation of success. It is the teacher's attitude that dictates success, not money, not poverty. You see that? Because they'll blame it on poverty, they'll blame it on fatherlessness, they'll blame it on the mothers being in public assistance. That has nothing to do with it. Does this teacher believe these children can grow? That is more predictive of academic success than any other factor, including finances.
Very powerful point. When you mentioned how it wasn't the celebrities or the rich that put money into our institutions of learning, or any of the businesses that were created specifically for black people by black people. When we talk about the school system, once before integration, we had our own schools.
Yes.
It may be the Little Red Schoolhouse. My great-grandmother, who was born in Hope County, North Carolina, 1904, she went to the Little Red Schoolhouse, and that was grades 1 to 8. Do you believe, and the teacher expectation there was very different. These
Yes.
teachers were part of our communities. These were the
Yes.
sisters that were at church. These were the sisters at the market. Do you believe integration hurt us, our control of educating our children?
Great question. First, I would argue that the United States of America only desegregated, it never integrated. And there's a difference between integration and desegregation. Desegregation is the legal removal of all restrictions and barriers that allow you access to a certain aspect of society. We're only eliminating the legality that keeps you from participating. Integration is when I guarantee you access. America never integrated. America only desegregated. So, for example, if you go into New York City, you go into Philadelphia, you'll see schools that are 85, 95% black, right? They were desegregated. There's no law that says white children can't come here or black children can't go to the predominantly white school. They were desegregated. They were not integrated, because if they were integrated, you would see a 50-50 split. So America desegregated, America never integrated. With that being said, when we go back to 1954 and the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, May 17th, 1954, actually came out of undergrad the same day. That's why I remember the date. When the Supreme Court said race has no place in American education, white people started taking their children out the public school system and putting them into the private school system. The largest expansion of private schools in American history took place between when? 1954 and 1974. White people said, if our children have to go to class with these Negroes, they're not going to class at all. So the private school movement, you had private schools before May 17th, 1954, but you had an explosion in private schools after May 17th, 1954. White people started taking their children out. Now, for the white people who could not afford to do that, the federal government gave them a program by which they could resegregate special education in 1975. So 20 years after school desegregation, they gave us special ed. So now, let the black children into the white school building, but say they can't keep up with the white kids. They're retarded. They're intellectually disabled. They're emotionally disturbed. They have ADHD. They have conduct disorder. They have oppositional defiant disorder. The white man's argument is, we're not discriminating based on race. But these children have problems that do not allow them to compete in a regular classroom with our white children. So to help the black child, we're going to give them an IEP, inferior education program, and we're going to put them in a separate class that caters to their disability. And so special education gave birth to the resegregation of America's public and charter school classrooms. Special ed was the weapon that allowed them to take us back 30 years. Now, let me go back to segregation for a moment. Not everybody supported the 1954 fight that was taken up by Charles Hamilton Houston, Thurgood Marshall, NAACP Legal Defense Fund. W.E.B. Du Bois didn't fully support it. We had many of our artists coming from the Harlem Renaissance who didn't think it was a good idea for black children to go into schools with white people who were racially hostile and insensitive to them. But here's the biggest mistake we made when we allowed them to desegregate us. We didn't mandate that the black teachers must accompany the black children when they started getting bussed into the white schools. You know what they did? They laid the black teachers off. They said, we're only taking the children into the white public school. We don't need your teachers. So just like I told you, the greatest explosion of white public school was 1954 to 1974. The greatest layoffs for black teachers was also 1954 to 1974. They lost their jobs. They lost their careers. And as a result of that, the independent black schools began to shut down because most of our people thought that an education sitting next to white children would be better. So here we are, 64, 74, 84, 94, 04, 14. Next year is 24. So next year we celebrate the 70th anniversary of school desegregation. Has it been a success or a failure? Dismal failure. You wouldn't have special ed if there was no desegregation. You wouldn't have ADHD in a public school if there was no school desegregation. You wouldn't have city police in the public schools if there was no school desegregation. There would be no school to prison pipeline if there was no school desegregation. So there would be no disciplined schools if the schools never deseg. So when you look at the major systems in place in public and charter school that disadvantage our children, they were all put there to deal with the fact that white people had to start teaching black children. And the white teacher taught our children, but sent hers to the private school. Do you know that most white teachers in predominantly black school districts, children do not attend those school districts? They send them to private schools. So what is that telling you? My child isn't here because I don't intend to teach your child. But I'm gonna go a step further. The black community has to take ultimate responsibility for the miseducation of our children. Why? Because we already know what white folks are about. We've been at it for 404 years. And one thing you got to give white people credit for, they have been consistent for 404 years. They don't change clothes like we do every 40 years, right? For 40 years, we want to be integrationists. For 40 years, we want to be nationalists. For 40 years, we want to be revolutionaries. For 40 years, we want to be passive. We helter-skelter because we don't have no sense of identity, so we always changing who we are. Do we want to be Americans or do we want to be Africans and Americans? Do we want to be pretendians? Do we want to be this? Do we want to be that? We are so uncertain of who we are because we want to be accepted by these people. And let me be clear, one of the reasons why American Africans can't really achieve a collective sense of identity is because we want to be accepted by white people. See, the reason we're always switching who we are and what we stand for is because whenever white folks give us this illusion of inclusion and we think we're finally going to get in, we will morph into something else just to be accepted. You saw it when Barack Obama got elected. When Barack Obama got elected, I seen die-hard nationalists, die-hard freedom fighters start saying, Dr. Umar, you might be wrong. America is beginning to change. They have no choice but to let us in. So they let Barack Obama rock us to sleep for 8 years. And then Donald Trump came and woke you up with the alarm clock. But back to that education piece, just to close it up, it's our job to educate our children. It's not fair to ask a white woman to prepare your child to take bread from her child's mouth. That ain't fair. Why would I go to white people, understanding how ruthless and unfair they are anyway, and ask them to prepare my son and daughter to compete equitably with their son and daughter? When you ask a white person to educate a black child, you're asking them to make sure your child can compete with their child in the job market, in the business market. It's not fair to do that. The members of one race should never be entrusted with the education of the children of another race, because whoever teaches the children dictates the future. The question becomes, why are we not building our own schools? That's the biggest question. Now, charter schools, they're still public. So for me, that's not much progress because the government decides whether you live or die. They can shut you down whenever they want. The school we have in Wilmington, Delaware, that was a charter school started by black folks. And guess what? They got accused of financial mismanagement and extremely low test scores. They shut them down. If they don't get shut down, we don't get that building. I used to be a charter school principal and vice principal. I know the hoops you got to jump through in order to keep them schools open, because charter schools were founded by white folks who wanted to separate their kids from black children but couldn't afford the private school. So the charter school became the school in between. You see that? The school in between. We can't afford to pay $20,000, $30,000 a year for private school tuition. So they made a deal with the state legislature, and I believe Minnesota was the spearhead of this. And you know, Minnesota is all white. So they said, we're going to come up with something called charter. It's run by the community, but it's still funded by the state. That's what a charter school is. It's run by the community. It's still funded by the state. We have no control over those. Our original fight was what? Community control of the public schools. Remember that? Back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. We said we want to control the school, right? We have final say over the principal. We have final say over the dean. We have final say over the curriculum. We have final say over the student code of conduct. We should have never gave that fight up. Why did we give it up? Thirsty Negroes love money more than freedom. When they heard about the charter school movement, and they said, wait a minute now, this charter school thing ain't bad. If I get a charter, I can pay myself $150,000 a year as the CEO. Hire Bigga to be the principal. He doing all the work, but guess what? I can still legally be paid as the CEO because I'm the founder of the school. So once a lot of the community control of the public schools activists found out they could get a check, a salary from the charter school movement, you ain't heard another word about community control. Everybody ran out to the charters. And the danger of the charter movement is charter schools pick and choose their students. Legally, they're not supposed to do that. Legally, everybody's supposed to get raffled in. I work in charter schools. Let me tell you the real deal. They handpick the kids off the waiting list who got the highest test scores. You see that? So the children who really need the school the most, really need the guidance the most, they not getting into them schools. And the reason why you see so many charter schools in black neighborhoods is because charter schools are the face of gentrification. Let me say that one more time. Charter schools are the face of ethnic cleansing. I'm gonna give it to you like this. There's a section of the Bronx that's heavily black. There's a section of Newark, New Jersey. It's heavily black. There's a section of Houston, Texas. It's heavily black. There's a section of Harlem. It's heavily black. We got to get them Negroes out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to let white folks open up a charter school, but we're going to let a black person front it, i.e. Sean Puffy Combs. We're going to let a black person front the charter school, right? Most of the teachers is white. Most of the staff is white. Faculty is white. You got black in there, but there's a lot of white folks working in these charter schools in the black community. They move into Harlem. They move into Brooklyn. They move into Philly. They buy up all the real estate. See that? They buy up all the abandoned buildings, renovate them, fix them up. Property tax goes up. And guess what? All them black kids who go to that charter school, their parents can't even afford to live in a neighborhood no more. And even though charter schools are not limited to geography, you could come from anywhere in the state for a charter school, but it's no longer convenient to put my child on the bus from the Bronx to go to this charter school in Harlem, or put my child on the bus in Queens to go to this charter school in Yonkers, because they're going to sit in traffic for 45 minutes. I don't want my child with a 1 hour commute to school when they can walk 5 blocks to school. You see that? So charter schools are how they get rid of black folks, because guess what? When you start seeing all the white people move in your neighborhood as the parent of the child, you're not going to say anything. Why? Because that's the math teacher. That's the science teacher. That's the assistant principal. That's the dean of students. I think it's a good thing my child's principal lives around the corner. I think it's a good thing my son's math teacher lives down the street. You don't even realize this is a takeover. This is an ethnic cleansing. That charter school is only there to raise the property tax and get you all up on out of there. Wherever you see a lot of charter schools, you see gentrification of black folks. Why you don't see a lot of charter schools in white suburbs? Why do you not see a lot of charter schools in white suburbs? Because no one's trying to gentrify the white suburb. They're trying to gentrify the inner city. If you do your research on charter schools, most charter schools are founded by white folks, even in a predominantly black city. White people love black kids that much? Wait a minute, you're telling me the grandchildren of the same people who fought against school desegregation love our children so much that they're coming into the ghetto, opening up charter schools so we can learn better. Charter schools are about money, and charter schools are about what? Political power. You know why politicians like charter schools? Because if he gets a charter, if I help you get a charter in Brooklyn, I help you get a charter in Queens, I help them get a charter in the Bronx, I helped them get a charter in Staten Island. You got a 300 student school. He got a 1,000 student school. She got a 700 student school. That's 2,000 students. He got a 500 student school. That's 2,500 students. Every child got 2 parents. Do you know how many votes that is for me on election day? Do you know how many votes that is for me in election day? That's 5,000 guaranteed votes. Who not gonna vote for me? And I'm the reason your child got a better education, or so you think. So politicians love charter schools because it guarantees turnout on voter day. Charter schools are not about educating children. They're about money, power, gentrification, and votes.
Say it again. I think there was so much promotion of the charter. We seen it explode in New York.
Yes.
I mean, it was a movement that started off very small. I think Harlem Success was first.
Jeffrey Canada, Kip
Yes.
charter, and he has some in Philly. He's all around.
Yes. Yes. Parents stressed out, burnt out, getting on these waiting lists with a prayer and a hope that my child is going to be selected. And now we're seeing the first graduating class, the 8th graders from the charters. We're not seeing the results we thought we would.
And you're not going to, because they didn't open up them charter schools to educate black kids.
Right.
They opened up them charter schools to take over black communities. You see that?
Harlem.
Right? And then the charter schools that claim they're improving academics, not so fast. So your charter school been open 5 years, hypothetically. Every child you brought in was below basic in reading and math, right? 5 years later, 75% of your kids proficient in reading and math, right? That's a good turnaround. You went from under to proficient, 75% in 5 years. Congratulations. Only problem is, when I look at a picture of the student body year 1, it changed year 2. And when I look at the picture of the student body between year 2 and year 3, it changed in year 3. And when I look at the student body from year 1 to year 5, almost nobody who was there in year 1 is there in year 5. You did not improve test scores. You understand that? You simply expelled children who were underperforming and brought kids in who were overperforming. Charter schools don't improve grades. They engineer the student population so it appears that the school is doing better when you're only bringing in better students. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. I happen to know so. So I know some. So I want to leave some room for that. You understand? But by and large, charter schools do an excellent job of false marketing their improvements by expelling children who don't do well and bringing children who do well. Like a lot of charter schools will say, if you fight one time, you get expelled. We got a major charter school movement in Philadelphia run by white folks. If you fight one time, you get expelled. I beg your pardon? Children fight. That's a part of life. Your job is to teach them conflict resolution as opposed to fighting. You don't expel a kid for fighting, not hitting somebody with a weapon, not drugs.
No, just a fight.
Just a fight. They get kicked out. Why do you think they have such a stringent discipline program? Because I need the discretion to get rid of you if your test scores are not helping me improve. Now, let's take me. I'm one of your students at the charter school, right? I happen to be one of the highest testers in the state of New York. Hypothetically, right? I'm a badass. I fight. I beat people up, but I never get expelled. See this? You got expelled your first fight. You got expelled your first fight. I'm on my 5th fight. I ain't been expelled yet. You know why? Because of my test scores. I know children who got expelled from charter schools a day before graduation, a week or two before. Yes, because they want to pull them test scores right on out the average. Oh, yes, they do this. Yes, it's a scam. And the reason you're seeing so much charter is they're trying to slowly and secretly eliminate public education. And why? The United States Constitution doesn't give you a right to learn. The word education is not in the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution, those white supremacists up in Philadelphia a couple hundred years ago, they never said everybody has a right to get an education. So a lot of taxpayers, most white people, either send their kids to private schools, their children are already adults, or they don't have no children. Do you feel me? And so they're wondering why am I paying taxes? Because, you know, school taxes are pretty high.
Yes, they are.
Why am I paying school taxes when my Constitution gives nobody a right to learn? Why am I paying for a service that my Constitution does not guarantee? So they want to phase out education altogether. And the only kids who will get an education are the ones whose parents can pay for it. But here's the problem. Why can't they just shut down all the schools in the black community tomorrow? Why can't they just say, y'all failing, y'all been failing, everybody know y'all failing, we shutting them down? You know why they can't do that? Most teachers are white women. Most voters are white women. The American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association are the 2 largest unions in America. You don't become a president of the United States without one of them 2 teachers unions backing you. Do you see that?
Correct.
Do you know what the number 1 job of the teachers union is? Getting people elected. You shut down a school. I promise you, if they ever eliminate public education, and they might, who's ever president the year they do that will not be president the next election. Who's ever governor in your state the year they eliminate public education will not be reelected. The problem with eliminating public education, what do you do with all these millions of white women, privileged, middle class snow bunnies who vote for you and who contribute to your campaign and whose teacher union is the financial power backing of most major gubernatorial and presidential elections? That's the problem with eliminating public education. How do we do it and not suffer the backlash from the snow bunnies and their white teacher unions?
What is your thought on the homeschooling movement? Which
Homeschooling
seems
is
to be
good.
taking on?
Homeschooling is good, but it's not a solution. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
You and Bigga, y'all could homeschool. Y'all financially comfortable enough to do it. 2/3 of our children are raised by single mothers who are not financially comfortable enough to do it. When I hear people scream about homeschooling and everybody should homeschool, you're not being realistic. If a single black mother in New Jersey, a single black mother in New York, a single black mother in Boston, working 2 and 3 jobs, raising 2 and 3 kids, when's she gonna get time to homeschool? She will have to put her kids on the computer when she's at work. And you know what they're gonna do when she's at work? They're looking at everything except the academics.
Correct.
So it's not a solution for the community because our kids are raised by single mothers. And you know why the black community pushes homeschooling so much? Because nobody wants the responsibility to have to give up some of their disposable income to build the schools that we need. You see that? That's one of the reasons why I get pushed back with FDMG. Why don't you just do an online school? This is what I get all day long. Why you just do an online school? Can I ask you a question? Is there any research that shows kids who learn at home learn better than kids in the classroom? Zero. There's no proof that you learn better at home. In fact, you learn worse at home. COVID quarantine proved that.
Showed that.
Remember all the
Yes.
problems with the COVID quarantine?
Yes.
Kids looking at porn, kids Snapchatting, kids sleeping, but putting a still shot on the screen as if they woke and watching. It don't work. And guess what? Children get bored from being at home. They want to interact. They need to be in a big building. COVID proved that homeschooling is not a solution, especially if you live in a single parented household. But you know why it's being pushed by white folks? It's financially efficient. If I start a homeschool, do I need school buses? Do I need a lunchroom? What else you need in the school? Do I need security guards? Do I need bus drivers? It's financially efficient. A homeschool charter program, because you got charter homeschools, right? Cyber charter schools. Oh my goodness. They don't have to spend money on nothing. They ain't got to pay for no lunch. They ain't got to pay for no class trips. You see this? They get to keep most of the overhead. Parents like homeschooling because they ain't got to worry about the kids getting suspended and they have to run up there and reinstate them or pick them up. Homeschooling is convenient for the adults. It's not a benefit for the children. Children learn best around other children and face-to-face instruction, and that's what we're going to give them. People pushing homeschool because it's efficient. We don't want to be bothered with our kids. Nobody wants to be bothered with black kids. Not the white teachers, not the black parents. So just homeschool them. This way the white teachers ain't never got to be bothered with them. They can just interact with them through a screen and stay they lazy white asses at home. You see that? You see that? I can stay at home and teach through the computer. So of course the white teacher going to be for homeschool. Lazy ass black kid. I could be on my Snapchat, my phone, eat all day, have my girlfriend. Of course the kids want it and the parents want it. But does it benefit us for where we need to go? Hell no. And I'm going to tell you another reason why homeschooling is not a solution. What's the number one thing black kids need to learn how to do? Get along with each other without killing each other off.
Absolutely.
You can't do that with his child isolated in his house and your child isolated in a separate house and your child isolated in another house and my child isolated in another house. How do they ever learn black community conflict resolution? How do they ever learn peaceful negotiation with violence? You're still keeping them isolated from one another. If it's one thing black children got to be taught how to do, it's how to work together for the benefit of the black community. You can't do that at a homeschool. And let's go to the curriculum. Let's say I designed the curriculum. I'm the principal, right? How do I know it's being implemented in your home the right way? How do I know it's being implemented in your home the right way? How do I know it's being implemented in his home the right way? Homeschooling is not a solution. It's a temporary intervention. The solution is for us to build our own schools, but black people ain't got time for that because black people ain't got the time for nothing that benefits the collective that requires them to use their money. And the reason why we are dead last in this country, politically, economically, and socially, is we do not use our disposable income to benefit our own. $30 billion on hair, $2 billion on Air Jordans every year, $4 billion on liquor, $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, about $41 million on children's cologne. You mean to tell me we could spend $40 million a year on children's cologne, but we can't even open up our own schools? And then you got Negroes running around talking about we need black history in the schools. I'm not supporting that. And people ask me, Dr. Umar, don't you think our kids need to know who they are? Yes, but I don't want no snow bunny teaching them who they are and where they come from. Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Fannie Lou Hamer? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Ida B. Wells? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Mary McLeod Bethune? Why do I want a white woman teaching my daughter Queen Mother Harriet Tubman? Why do I want a white man teaching my son the Honorable Marcus Garvey? Why do I want a white man teaching my son the Honorable Nat Turner? Why do I want a white man teaching my son Bishop Henry McNeil Turner? They have no business interpreting our racial experience to our children. That's our job. Now, last time I checked, we have an explosion in African studies programs at HBCUs and PWIs, right?
Yes.
So if you got thousands of black people with a PhD in African studies, why the hell they can't teach the kids? You know why? They want to get paid. Negroes are selfish and Negroes are greedy, and we don't want to do nothing for ourselves unless the white man paying for it. The reason the world doesn't feel sorry for American blacks is we got enough money to change our whole reality. But guess what? We more concerned with looking good and outdoing the next Negro as opposed to cooperating with each other so we can all do better. We're the only race who doesn't weaponize our money to benefit ourselves. Mexican dollar is weaponized for Mexican people. Chinese dollar is weaponized for Chinese people. The Jewish dollar is weaponized for Jewish people. The Arab dollar is weaponized for Arab people. When is the last time the black dollar been weaponized? It ain't never been weaponized. Why you think you don't get no respect when you go out and vote? Next November, they're expecting us to go and vote for old crusty Biden or old crusty Trump. Neither one of them are going to do anything for black folks, and they don't have to. You want to know why? Because we haven't weaponized our dollars or our votes along a black community agenda, forced them to follow it in exchange for the vote. We voting as Democrats. We voting as Republicans. We not voting as black people, and that's why we gonna lose. Jews vote as Jews. Mexicans vote as Mexicans. The LGBT vote as LGBT. When black people gonna vote as black people? Until we put the race first. Until we start fighting for what we need as a people, we'll never get nothing. Because if you're not important to yourself, If you're not important to yourself, why would you be important to the United States government?
All right, so this is where I want to chime in at. I respect everything you say, and I agree with a lot of points that you say, but it's points that I have to point out. So I went to private school, as most of you know, so I don't know much about the public school education. I went to private school all my life. The private school I went to was a Christian private school, CCA Academy. Shout out to Christ Crusader Academy. I am a Christ Crusader, always will be. That's who I am. Now, when I went to school, sometime around that time, they came to us and they said that they was taking the Bible and the scriptures out of schools. They said when they did that, that was going to affect everything. Now, for a fact, I know that is a fact, because if we was being educated about God, so many of these things that the brothers spoke about is dealt with right on a godly level. Now, being that I am who I am, and I come from a Christ background, my enemy will never be a man. There's no flesh and bone that could ever be my enemy. And I have to make that clear. I wrestle against Satan. I wrestle against the principality. Now, the principality can control, various people. That could be any color, any person, anything. I can't focus on a race or a color, because that's not real. Anyone is breathing the life of God. And you are God's children. And God is no respecter of no person. He deals with you as long as you are in accord. Now, if you study the scripture, which I know you know, our people are under a curse because we were disobedient. Our people are under a curse because at some point we disobeyed the laws of God and we went our own way. And that is scripturally for thousands of years said that this was going to happen. Now, at this point, when I'm in private school and they tell us that Bible is being taken out the school, I didn't know. There was no charter schools at that time. This is what I witnessed with my own eyes. I'm from Harlem. The first charter schools, I don't know where they came from, but I seen them in Harlem. They were imitating the private school. So in private school, I had to wear a uniform. Every day we stood out. Everybody knew who we were. It was no confusion. Those are private school kids. Those are Catholic school kids, because we had to wear straight uniforms. Now, when they opened up the charter schools and they started putting them in uniforms, it confused the whole system. And now you don't know, is that a private school kid or is that a charter school kid? Now, because I didn't go to a charter school, maybe they didn't have Bible. Maybe they didn't have education. Maybe they didn't teach them the things that they was teaching us in a Bible school, that is dealing with scripture, that is teaching you how to be in accord with Christ. So now, speed up to the future, all of these things happen. You know what I'm saying? During the same time, rap music went from an educational standpoint to almost glorifying gangster rap standpoint. All of these things happen in the attack. Now, I have to understand, do I blame a man for any of this? No, the devil is really wicked. He's really the prince of darkness. And those who understand me know that he exists. And if he exists, he takes you over through your mind. So the weakening of our mind and not getting the education of Christ. People coming around, and no disrespect to you, because I think you know this. People coming around say, oh, he's a white man. This is a white man's religion. All of that hurt, because the truth is, the whole scripture is Black history. The truth is, the scriptures is all dealing with actually Negroes. So once we were stolen all of that and that was taken from us, whose plot was that really? Was that this white man's plot? Or was this the dragon's plot? That woe unto man, the dragon comes onto earth to make war against the sibling of the one that is caught up to the throne. You see, I can never ignore what we are really fighting. And I can never promote that we're fighting any type of man. We're fighting something much greater than that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, brother.
Did Satan put us on a slave ship, or did white people put us on a slave ship?
Absolutely Satan. And matter of fact, let me retract that. The sin that we encountered, the sin that we stepped in, we put our own selves on that slave ship.
Who built the slave ships and who brought them to the coast of Africa?
You would say the European?
Who else could have done it?
Even if the European did it, would you say he was not demonically possessed? Who controlled the European?
Your interpretation of his behavior may be that he was possessed by a demon.
Mm-hmm.
But the observable action, whether it was a demon or not, it was Caucasians who enslaved African people.
Absolutely.
Who mass incarcerates us right now? Satan or white people?
We mass incarcerate ourselves.
How can you mass incarcerate yourself? Do we lock ourselves up?
Every time that you go against and you make a bad decision, that is called a sin. And I need everybody to understand what I'm saying right now. Because you see, we all have God in us. So we ain't gonna play that game. You know what I'm saying? When you go to do something wrong, there's a voice in you that has already guided you. You have it, your ancestors had it, and everyone had it. When you decide to go against that voice, there is a punishment that is going to come about. Now, if that punishment comes about through the hands of this man, that means that man's hands was just used as a tool.
And you're relying heavily on individual decision. I'm talking about systemic issues and challenges that are placed within certain communities to disadvantage the members of those communities. Whereas the same behavior is done in the white community, but they are not persecuted or prosecuted for it as much as black people are. White people commit most of the crime, but black people are disproportionately, charged and convicted for the crimes. So if you're going to say it's us, what about the fact that white people are not being held accountable?
This is where the scripture comes in to point at. Now, so this is where your color comes in, and when people speak about color, the scripture already tell you, Israel is going to bring salvation to the people. Israel will bring salvation. I hope you are familiar with the scriptures. So, with that being said, I just quoted a scripture earlier that the dragon comes down to the earth to bring wrath to the siblings of the one that was caught up to the throne. The one that was caught up to the throne, we already understand from the study in scripture, was the Israelite. His siblings will be who? Are the Israelites. Israelites are the ones who went into the Spanish Inquisition, and they were the ones that was taken into slavery. They were the ones that was taken back to Africa, to the coast of Guinea, caught by their own African brothers that they were really,
Only a minority of African kingdoms participated in the transatlantic slave
But they
trade.
did, though.
Yes, but it was a minority.
Yeah, I believe that.
The transatlantic slave trade was
It was
European.
targeted at a specific Negro people that actually came out of the Spanish Inquisition.
No,
that
sir.
Was actually...
The enslaved Africans came from all up and down the west coast of
Oh,
Africa. Yes, sir.
No.
There's over 40 dungeons. I've been to plenty of them.
So
we came from everywhere on the continent.
everywhere on the continent.
Yes,
so
sir.
you're saying
Central
we came
Africa.
from North to South Africa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From Northwest Africa,
We got to
all
bring
the way
out the
down
map.
to the top of South Africa.
We got to bring
the
out the map.
dungeons are there.
I got the map.
You don't need a map. You can go to the
I
dungeons.
got the map. So
You came from
Guinea,
Central
where's
Africa?
Guinea at?
West Africa.
All right. So what is
Cameroon
the land?
is
Wait. What's
Central
the land
Africa,
of Guinea?
Congo.
What's the land of Guinea? Who populated Guinea at that time?
Who?
You tell me. I'm
You
asking
tell me.
you. I'm asking you. I've
You
already
tell me.
said it, actually.
Who?
At the time that Guinea was going, it was our people, it was the Israelites that was being caught and enslaved.
I don't agree with that. Not everybody was an Israelite.
I didn't say everyone was.
Okay, but you
I
just
said
said
that.
that
I said
Israelites
that.
were taken into slavery from West Africa.
Yes.
Correct. And I'm telling you, not everybody in West Africa is an Israelite. In fact, most
course
people in
not.
West Africa are
Because-
not Israelites.
Since when? What year would you say that?
Since the beginning of the time.
But again, I don't want, that's a little bit getting off of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because again, you're getting back into the physical thing. I'm not going to do anything physical, period. My enemy is Satan. So I would
But
never,
when you say your enemy is Satan,
I would never,
you're
say,
scapegoating an entity who can't be proven to exist.
how can he?
Stay with me. You can't prove to me that the devil exists beyond a shadow of a doubt empirically.
Watch me. I have 4 people in the room right now. Do you know that Satan exists? Thank you. Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? Stop. Do you know that Satan exists? I just proved
That's
it.
not proof, and I'm going to tell you why.
Proof,
no, it's
brother.
not, and I'm
That
tell you
is
why.
proof, brother.
Let me respond.
That is proof.
Let me respond.
Everybody in this room just
Let me
said that they
respond.
know
Let me
Satan exists,
respond.
brother.
I could be in a room with 5 white folks. Are white people superior to Africans? They will say yes. Are white people superior to Africans? They will say yes.
But they're not here to
Stay
ask
with
that.
me. Are white people superior to
No,
Africans? Stay
brother.
with
They're
me.
not
Are
here.
white people
They're
superior
not
to
here.
Africans? Just because.
They're not here. Ask the people that's
Just
here something.
because you
Ask the
profess
people
a
that's here
premise.
something.
No. Listen to me. Just because you profess a premise, that doesn't make it true. Do
Stop.
you understand me?
Stop.
And the popularity
Stop.
of a
deny-
view
Stop.
doesn't make it
One
true.
question. Do you
the
deny-
majority
Let me
can
ask
be
you
wrong.
now. Why? Stop. Let me ask you
Where
now.
is Satan? Show me Satan.
real? So
Show me Satan.
I didn't ask you that.
Satan
I'm
is not
asking
real.
you a question.
It's not real.
So
It's
there's
an
no
idea.
devil.
Prove it. No, prove
So
it.
is there a God?
Prove it.
I'm asking you a question. Is there a
There
God?
is supreme consciousness, yes.
Explain that supreme consciousness.
Supreme consciousness is the supreme spirit that governs, creates, and manages everything in existence.
So there's no negative. So Dr. Umar
Negative
saying
energy and
there's
Satan are not the same thing.
There's no, wait, let me finish. There's no principality. There's no Satan that roams this earth that lurks after souls.
What is Satan? Give me a description of Satan.
I just said principality. That roams this earth that lurks after souls.
Okay, this is a being, correct? This is a being. This is an entity that roams the earth looking for souls. Satan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Prove to me he exists. Where is he? Can we talk to him? Can we see him? Where is he? Show him to me.
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
You won't. Show me Satan.
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Show me Satan.
Look in the mirror.
Okay. And let me tell you why you said that. You said that because I disagree.
That's not true.
Can I?
Because I would say, look in the mirror to myself.
Let me
So
respond.
watch what you're about to say.
Let's go back and
I would
forth.
tell him to look in the mirror.
Can I respond to what you just said?
I would tell him to look in the mirror.
You might.
I would tell him to look in the mirror.
You might, but let me respond to what you said. The reason you said that initially is because since I don't agree with your religious belief, I automatically become your enemy. Stay
How
with
would you
me.
be my
Stay with
enemy?
me. Stay with me.
You're in my home.
Stay with me. That
You're
don't mean
in
I'm
my
not
home.
your enemy. Stay with me.
No. Stop. You in my home.
That don't
you
mean
can
I'm
never
not your
be my
enemy.
enemy. See,
You're
don't
not letting me
misquote
finish my point.
Because I can't.
Let me finish the point,
No,
good
I
brother.
can't, bro. I just said no man could be my enemy. So
Listen
you're
to
not
this.
going to sit here in the
Listen to this.
seat of the esteem and say I'm your enemy. I invited you into my home.
Let me say this to you,
So
good brother.
slow down and rethink
Let
what
me
you
say
say.
this to you, good brother.
You're not my enemy.
Let me say this to you, good brother. The reason why religion is an evil in the black community, all of them.
In your
Let
opinion.
me finish. Yes, in my opinion.
Yes.
We're discussing our opinions.
Okay, yes.
The reason why religion...
And I'm not your enemy.
Religion itself
And you're not my enemy.
Religion itself is an enemy in our community. You know why? Because
Your
it
opinion.
breeds accusatory behavior. It breeds elitist thinking. It breeds separation of members of the community.
That is what your
The
experience.
reason we're arguing right now.
I'm not arguing.
Yes, we are.
No, I'm not.
The reason we are disagreeing right now.
More good.
And focusing on religion more than solving the problems of our community.
No, actually.
Stay with me.
No, actually.
Because black people who
it
belong,
is solving the problem.
Stay with me. No. See how you're over-talking me?
I'm not over-talking
You're over-talking me because you are a Christian.
Saying that.
You think that what you have to say is more important
When
than
you
what
say
I
I'm a
have
Christian,
to say.
what does that mean?
What are you? Are you Christian or are you Hebrew? What's your system of belief?
All right, that's more like it.
Which one is it?
I believe in being Christ-like.
Okay, that's Christian. You're a Christian. Let's simplify it and say you're a Christian. I don't want to play the word game. You're a Christian. So, in Christianity, like all world religions.
That's where you're wrong.
Can I make my point, brother?
No, not that point.
In Christianity,
I don't deal
you
with
believe
Christianity.
that your way is the only
deal
way.
with Christianity. That's why I asked you to be careful. Christ-like and Christianity is two different things, bro.
That's playing
Stop
words.
it.
That's playing
Stop
words.
it. No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is. It's
No,
playing
it's not.
words.
Christianity
You're
is
moving the goalposts.
it's a white Roman thing that was created, and Christians existed way before that, bro.
That's true.
Stop.
That's
Stop.
true. But that ain't my point.
Stop. But that's my point.
You believe in the Bible.
That's my point.
You believe in
when
Jesus
you say
Christ.
Christianity,
Do you believe in Jesus
watch
Christ?
how you say that on the camera.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, then you're a Christian then.
No,
yes, you are.
No,
yes, you are.
I'm a Christian, but not as you said, Christianity.
That's not the point.
Yes,
that
it
is
is.
not the point.
Yes, it is.
That ain't the point.
Yes,
the
it is
point is
you have to be
because
careful
you believe
when
in that
you say
book.
Christianity.
Listen,
because it makes people think that you just associated me with something I'm not associated
how
with.
arrogant you are because of your beliefs?
No, I see how
dismissive you are because of your beliefs.
I see how
angry you get when
see
people
how
don't
you're not-
agree with
listen,
your beliefs.
I see how you're
and that
not
is why
listening.
the black community
I
has
see how
so much
you're-
division.
I see how you're
That's
not
why we
listening.
can't come together. Because you believe,
bro,
your way is the only way.
That's not true.
Yes,
I
it is
believe
true.
God way
and
is
you
the
just,
only way.
And you just let all
God
white folks
way
off the hook.
is the only way.
And you let racism off
White
the hook.
people are not on the hook. You are responsible for your own sin.
Interesting.
You work out your own salvation with fear and
Who
trembling.
killed Sandra Bland?
You work out your own salvation,
Who killed Freddie Gray? Who killed Eric Garner?
Our own salvation.
Who killed Philando Castile? Who killed Alton Sterling? White people, police, working for the power structure.
Let's take it down
But because of your religious beliefs,
let's take it down
white people don't have to worry about you being held accountable because you want black people to focus on an entity that you can't even prove exists.
That's not true.
You want them to focus on a devil that you can't even prove exists.
Already did.
You can't prove the devil exists.
Everybody in this
but
room
I can prove white supremacy exists.
Everybody
but you
in this
rather
room
focus
said
on the devil.
Everybody in this room said.
That's why religion.
So
that don't mean nothing.
You focusing on the white supremacy. How is that going to help us? Was that not done way before you?
A person, no,
was
it's
that
happening now. What do you mean way before me? And now.
You're the first person that focused on white supremacy.
No, I'm not.
All right.
But we've never defeated it.
Saved us?
How has focusing on the Bible going to save us?
It never saved us.
We save ourselves.
Calm down.
We save ourselves.
Let's take it down a notch.
We save ourselves.
Take it down a notch.
But your Bible ain't solved the problem we had.
Not my
Your Bible ain't solved the problem we had, Bigga.
Not my Bible.
What problem has Christianity solved for black folks?
Not my Bible.
What problem has your religion solved for black people?
Our Bible.
Religion is a tool of division.
You're saying religion. What does religion mean to you?
I'm not getting into the word game.
What does it mean?
You're moving the goalposts.
No, define the
I'm
word.
not moving the goalposts.
If you say
and I'm not defining.
if you're going to say
we're not going to play the
religion,
word game.
You have to be clear for the
Listen,
people to
bro,
say what religion means.
You Christian. Whatever type you want to call it, that's on you. If I cut hair, I'm a barber. Whether I don't want to admit I cut hair, I'm still a barber.
Oh,
you understand me?
Absolutely, I'm a Christian.
If I evaluate people, I'm a psychologist, whether I want to be called it or not.
Christian. I said Christianity.
You said you wasn't a Christian.
No, I didn't.
You see how you playing word games?
No, I didn't.
You just
said Roman Christianity.
You just said I never denied being
a Christian.
What did you just say a second ago? You said you never denied Christianity, but you're not a Christian. Did you just say that?
Nope.
What did you just say a minute ago?
No, I never.
I'm gonna tell you what you said. You played the word game.
Tape.
You just said, I never deny, I'm not a Christian, but I never denied Christianity.
I never said that.
You just said it.
Never said that.
Or did you say the reverse? Which one did you say?
Said that, bro.
Now you're being dishonest. Now you're being dishonest, bro.
And when you replay the tape.
This is why I don't debate religion.
When you replay the tape.
This is why I don't debate religion.
When you replay the tape, you'll see that you're wrong.
What are we going to do about school to prison
Let's
pipeline?
pass that.
What are we going to do about gentrification?
Again,
what are we going to
is-
do
the
about
problem
economic
is- the problem
exploitation?
is- and
What are we going to do about mass incarceration?
Again, the
What are we
problem-
going to do about 2/3
teach
of our
our
kids
kids
being
to
raised
stop
by
being
mothers?
sinners.
That's what I want to know.
Teach our kids to stop being
That is
sinners.
not a solution.
That is the
That
solution.
is a distraction.
That is the
and a waste of-
solution.
That ain't no solution.
What you're saying
That
is
ain't
the
no solution.
distraction.
That ain't no
What?
solution.
You give me the solution.
And this is why the white man loves
You give
Christianity.
me the solution.
This is why the white man loves
Give
Christianity.
me- I don't-
This is why
give
the
me the
white man
solution.
loves you
If it
and
is
loves
not-
Christianity.
Give it to
He
me.
loves
Give
you.
me the
He
solution.
loves you.
Tell
you know why
me.
he loves you?
Tell me the
Because
solution.
you will never deal with the real problems that we can see.
I deal with it every
You will
day.
never deal with the real solutions that
Every
we
day.
can measure.
Every
You
day.
will never tackle the issues
Every
as they
day.
are. You will take our
Every
people
day.
away from solving their problems into a dreamland in a mystery world of Satan's, demons, beliefs, and religion that ain't got a damn thing to do with the problems black people deal with on a daily
And
basis.
unfortunately, it got everything to do with the black people.
And that's exactly
they
why
deal with every day.
That's why Karl Marx said
Every
religion
day.
is the opiate of the people.
So if
it
you
does
so
nothing.
if people
It
was to
does nothing
understand
but
how to rise
intoxicate their
above
minds.
their sin, they will still be in bondage.
What that got to do with systemic oppression?
Everything.
What that got to do with the
Everything
schools?
I've already
So
explained.
let me ask you this.
That
Can I ask you a
arises
question?
from sin.
It does. Okay. So what about the miseducation of black children by white women?
Arise by sin.
Who's sinning?
Arise from sin.
Who is sinning in that situation?
The scripture says that you are being
Who is sinning?
The
I asked you a
children-
direct
the
question.
children are being
Pastor,
You're
I
not
asked you a
listening.
direct question,
You're not
Pastor.
listening. Let me answer. Your children are being punished by the sins of the father. We are experiencing generations of sin. From the first
Religion is
sin-
the best
from
thing
the
that
first
happened to
sin-
the white man.
From the first sin that Adam committed.
Because what
From
religion
the
does,
first
it
sin
distracts
that
us from
Adam
our real
committed,
problems
put all
and makes
of
us
man
refocus on
from the
issues
first
that
sin
have no
that
relevancy
Adam
at all
committed.
to what we're dealing with.
From the first sin Adam committed, put all man into sin.
Where's
And it
Adam?
took-
Can you
and
show
it
me the
took-
gravesite?
and it- Yeah. I've
Where's
already
Adam's
did
gravesite
that.
at?
I've already did that, bro.
Tell me, where is the first man Adam buried?
Right under Jesus.
Where's Jesus buried?
Jesus not buried.
You just said Adam was right
He
under
was
Jesus.
crucified.
Okay, but where's he buried after he was crucified? Let's go back to Adam. Where's Adam buried at, the first
Just
man?
told you.
Where?
Where's Jesus crucified at?
Adam is buried, and where was Jesus crucified at?
I'm asking you.
No, you the Christian, not me. I'm not answering your questions. I don't promote Christianity. You do. So I'm asking you, where's Adam's gravesite?
What? I've already answered.
Where
the question.
is Adam's gravesite?
The location
Where
that
Christ was
Jesus
crucified.
was crucified.
And where was that?
What is the significance of that
Answer the question, brother. Where
What's
was
the
Christ crucified?
significance?
Bigger, where was Christ crucified?
What's the significance?
Oh, my
I've got to know what the significance of you asking that question.
Where was Christ crucified? Because I want to know where Adam is buried. You said Adam is buried where Christ was crucified.
Look it up.
I'm asking you where. Why I got to look it up? Why you can't tell me? I'm
Look
asking
it
my
up.
brother, my knowledgeable
Look it up.
Christian brother.
Look it up, brother.
Okay.
Look it up. You've already
Let's
kind
get-
of been slightly, negative towards any of that. So
Are you-
look it up.
Next question.
Are y'all done sparring?
No, all right. Let
That's
me
why
stop.
I don't discuss
Time out,
religion.
time out,
I have a
time out.
policy,
Pause.
and I went against my rules. I don't deal with
All
religion.
right, that's all good.
It's a distraction and a
Pause.
waste of time, and it never solved a single problem we got.
For you. Pause. As I said, I would never promote any war against any physical flesh. This is my brother, and
Yes.
brothers always could disagree. So don't
Yes,
think
sir.
that anything
Yes, sir.
that y'all
Correct.
just watch.
I
This
agree.
is my
This
brother,
is
and
my
I have
brother.
much
Yes, sir.
respect for
Yes,
this
sir.
guy.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
we are black men
Yes,
are
sir.
going to disagree
Yes.
till we find agreement and
Yes.
settle ground so we could solve this. Yes, I am a Christ crusader. That's not Christianity. Those that know me know that, already know that.
But how is you being a Christ crusader benefiting our people's liberation struggle?
Do you know what I do?
Tell me. I just asked you.
I got Dr. Umar sitting here right now trying to help
Okay.
give
So let's leave the
education,
religion
all
alone,
right?
because I think we can agree that
I would never leave God out the equation.
I didn't say God. God and religion are not synonymous. That's the
You
problem.
keep saying
That's the
religion.
problem with y'all
That's
religious
why
people.
I asked you what
God
does
and religion are not
mean.
synonymous.
That's why I asked you what does religion mean to you.
is a system of exploitation.
And I have nothing to
Emotional
do with
cycle.
that.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I
You
don't.
use that Bible.
But that's your...
You use that Bible.
Got you. That's good.
Uh-huh.
So the scriptures is not real to you.
What do you mean by real?
Real. You said I used the Bible, so explain to me.
What is your definition of real? When you say the scriptures are real,
what's wrong with me using the Bible? No, stick to that.
Ain't no solutions in it for African people. Not a single solution.
That's not
Ain't
even,
no solutions in that.
So the Bible is just, we shouldn't even have the Bible then.
Well,
we
if you
shouldn't
want
study the Bible. I shouldn't teach my kids the Bible.
I would ask for what purpose? You're teaching them the Bible for what purpose?
Got you.
Let me give you an example.
No.
I study the Bible
Move on to the next
because when I talk to Christians, I want to be able to relate to their belief system. Oh, no, I didn't. You didn't answer my question. How are our children benefited from studying the Bible? What does that got to do with solving any problems we have?
Right from wrong.
You can understand right from wrong.
No.
There's hundreds of religions in the world that teach you right from wrong.
They understand the history of what have taken place on this earth. They understand
the Bible is not.
Wait, if you ask me a question,
understanding of
they
what
understand
there
is an invisible enemy that is their real enemy. They understand when they hear people that come and speak about things that are in the flesh that is not real, that they focus on their real enemy.
You are a religious extremist.
And to bring their self in accord with God.
This is why Brother Malcolm X said, when we come together to organize, we should leave religion out of it. It doesn't help us organize. Would you agree with that?
No.
You don't agree with that?
How well did he get?
So you think we can organize black folks?
No other way.
How well did he what?
There is no other way.
So we got to go through religion. That's the problem.
You're saying religion.
That's the problem.
I don't believe what you just described as religion. I have nothing to do with.
You're moving the goalposts, brother.
No.
Leave religion out the solution. It's not a solution.
I would never do that. God is the solution.
Narrow-minded people like you
is the solution.
Will always prevent us from solving our
solution.
problems. You believe Christ is your solution, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
And I don't have a problem with whatever solution you might.
I don't have a problem with you believing Christ as your solution.
But just understand.
But you can't force me to believe what you believe.
When did I try to do that?
You said something earlier that was absolutely ridiculous. You said they need to put religion back in the schools.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? If they brought religion back into the schools, there would be wars. Do you know why? Because not everybody believes in Christ. That's why religion ain't in the school. I don't support religion in the school. I don't support religion in the school. You got Christians, you got Muslims, you got Hebrews.
Who's your greatest teacher?
You got Seventh-day Adventists.
Dr. Umar, stop. Who's your greatest teacher?
My ancestors.
But in your life, not the ones that you don't know, who directly taught you the most, was the most significant in your life?
My elders, my teachers, my parents.
Your parents, like your grandmother, your parents.
I learned from everybody.
Did they teach you about Jesus Christ?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, so they believed in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Can we move on? Stop. I don't want to talk about this no more. Move on. Next question. Next question. Next question, bro. Next question.
Can I ask a question? How much of that do you feel has an effect on you as an individual? Those teachings that came from your grandparents and your mother, your father, in terms of how you interact with others, how you feel about life, how you feel.
Well, good question. But because I'm a Pan-Africanist, I believe in freedom of religion.
Well, let's stay there. I'm not taking anybody's side.
No. I'm not saying you are.
There's a broader perspective that I.
Right, but I'm answering you, and I'm answering you by saying, because I came into Black consciousness at 9 years old in the 4th grade. I've been a Pan-Africanist since that time. You feel me? That's very early in life. So from the beginning, I never held religion against anyone, and I never forced it. You see what I'm saying? So my issue, for example, many of my Pan-Africanist forefathers were Christian preachers. Henry Highland Garnett, Alexander Crummell, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, Marcus Garvey was a Christian. You understand that? I'm a descendant of Christian pastors. You understand? So I speak in churches all the time. My issue isn't Christianity, it's the way that it's used. And the reason why religion is not a unifying force is because religion is a very arrogant, presumptive, dictatorial, and chauvinist approach to building a relationship with God that alienates people. Religion alienates. And do you know why religion alienates? Because everybody thinks their way is the only way. It is not comprehensive. It is not open-ended. Christians believe their way is the only way. Muslims believe their way is the only way. Hebrews believe their way is the only way. You can't unify people like that because Africans are so spiritually diverse. We belong to every system. So you can't show up with a Bible and say this is the way it's going to be. You can't show up with a Quran and say this is the way it's going to be. The reason why the Honorable Marcus Garvey was the greatest organizer in modern history, although he was a Christian, his organization was not Christian. It was based on African culture, African consciousness, African religion.
And it failed.
No, it did not fail.
It did.
It did not fail. What do you mean?
It failed.
Marcus Garvey gave the blueprint for the independence of the African continent. He liberated an entire continent ideologically. Now, what has your religion done?
It failed.
What has your religion done comparable to that?
It failed.
What has your religion done comparable to that? And do you hear? It failed. Do you see this? So you get that religious chauvinism, elitism. That's what you got. It failed. He pushing the Bible, but Garvey failed. Give me a break. You've done nothing for the African community. Nothing.
Burns, she wants to take a break. She wants to pause. Let's pause.
No, I don't want to pause. I want them to pause.
I want to go in another direction. I broke my rules. I don't discuss religion. Do you feel me? Because of these narrow-minded views that religious black people have. It's not a tool of unity. It's only a tool of division. But the point that I was making is the reason Garvey was the most successful is he's the only one who had the wisdom to say that religion will divide us more than bring us together. And he was a devout Christian. But he knew the religious immaturity of black people would separate us.
Like your grandparents?
So Garvey kept the UNIA ACL focused on African culture, African consciousness, African liberation.
Just think about what you're saying now.
He wants a religious movement. Everybody don't need to follow the Bible. Everybody don't have to follow the Bible. Christianity is only 2,000 years old. Do you know how old we are? African people, modern Africans, been on the planet 250,000 years old. We've been dealing with God for 250,000 years old, and this man wants me to throw out my spiritual heritage and culture and reduce my association with the Most High to a book that he reads. That's only 2,000 years old, and it's not even that. Because after the so-called crucifixion of Jesus, who we can't even prove existed,
the scriptures are way more
who we can't even prove existed, the Bible wasn't written down for what, 100, 200 years after Christ? So the religion might be 2,000 years old. The Bible might have been with us for what, 1,800 years old? Do you know how ridiculous it would be for a people with 250,000 years of spiritual culture to throw it out to pick up a 2,000-year-old book? That's insanity.
All right, copy. What version, so we can move on.
And you got over 200 or 300 different versions of the Bible. None of them agree on anything.
I agree.
The whole life of Jesus is reduced to 4 gospels. They know nothing of Jesus from the time he went into Kemet, spiritual center of African people, where he was taught, studied, and groomed into African spirituality. Where was Christ from 7 to 30? Where was he at? Studying traditional African spirituality at the feet of our ancestors. That's where Jesus was. Everything in his Bible was stolen, borrowed, and plagiarized from traditional African spirituality. Why do I need a carbon copy bootleg religion when my ancestors left me the original?
I think that there's a lot of passion that you're both bringing into the conversation from your perspective and from Bigga's perspective. I'm going to offer you my perspective of what I'm looking at from the outside looking in. From the outside looking in, again, Bigga's bringing into, in my opinion, I've always told people that regardless of every single congregation known to man, between Muslims, Catholics, Christians, whoever it is, there's a unification of every single religion that's known to man, which in my opinion translates into respect another human being. I could just condense every single chapter in the Bible, every single chapter in the Quran, every single chapter in.
But if that's a point you're making, then that's highlighting another contradiction. Because all religions are dictatorial and narrow-minded. They don't respect views of other people. None of them do. Every religion teaches my way is the only way. So when you say every religion believes in that, they may profess it, They don't practice that.
Every religion might profess.
Yeah, they profess. They don't practice that. Religions are not tolerant of beliefs that are not consistent with their own. They're not.
So there isn't an interaction that you would have with a person that's, let's say, a Muslim or regardless of what it is that they're practicing, where they address you in a respectful manner?
Yes, but you can be respectful because both of y'all human beings. It ain't got nothing to do with the fact that he belongs to this religion and that belongs to.
A lot of those
More people have died in the name of Jesus and Muhammad than any other cause in the history of mankind. Are you aware of that? Let me say that one more time. More people have been killed over Jesus and Muhammad than every other cause of death in human history. How in the hell can religion be a unifying factor?
I feel like when people cannot separate one emotion behind another, that's what a conflict.
I'm coming from another way. You know where I'm coming from? I'm coming from black people are older than Jesus, older than Abraham, older than Noah, older than Muhammad, older than Moses. We're older than all of that. So why we even got to unify through religion, which a lot of us don't believe in because we got our own spiritual system, why we using religion? Use culture. Use culture. We're the oldest people in the world. We have a 250,000-year-old culture or older. Why are we unifying through something that has only brought division to the world? Christianity has only brought division to the world. Islam has only brought division to the world. They have killed, they have conquered, and they have covered up. Why are we using that? We have culture. We have ways of dealing with each other and dealing with God that far predate this 2,000-year-old
I want to end this
religion.
and move on to the next thing.
Why we
because
dealing
we
with
keep
religion
saying
for?
No Christian would
You
kill.
brought it up.
No Christian would kill.
He said no Christian would kill.
No, Christians don't kill. So.
Have you ever heard of the Crusades? Yeah. Christians don't kill.
Those are not Christians, man. Those are not Christians.
What is he talking about?
Those are not Christians. Yeah,
Christians don't kill.
People like him use it.
Christians don't kill.
Can you please stop? My son is asking me a question. I want to explain it to him now.
Yeah, but you said a blatant lie, brother.
Stop.
Christians don't lie. You just lied. You just lied.
Pause this for a second.
But thank you so much for that insight and professional input regarding how the IEP, the charter schools, and the public school system is directly impacting the progression of our people. There's another conversation piece that keeps coming up. Was spoke about in the Trump election, and it's actually his voice is getting louder and louder with this election, if that's what you want to call it, because we can't have sleepy time Biden come back, people. I'm sorry. Pan-Africanism versus this FBA movement. What are your thoughts on that? Because there seems to be a growing separation of the two. FBA are waving a banner. They're advocating for exclusivity to reparations. And the Pan-Africanism movement is geared more towards wholeness of all of us that are descendants of the African diaspora. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I wouldn't conceptualize it as Pan-Africanism versus ADOS or Pan-Africanism.
No, I don't think it's versus.
Versus FBA, because we are a very comprehensive system
of African liberation. Those initiatives are not. So it's not us versus them because they're not on the level of what Pan-Africanism is or has done for African people. The bottom line is in those organizations, they tend to weaponize African-American identity and its attachment to white folks against Africans who immigrate from other parts of the diaspora. And the issue I take with that is, why are you demonizing African immigrants who are only 3% of the American African population? But you ain't demonized the Latinos who have very much benefited and profited from our struggle. You haven't demonized LGBTQ who have very much benefited and helped themselves from our struggle. You haven't demonized white women who were the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action and other civil rights programs. To me, it is a coward move to take the lowest man on a totem pole and say he's the one keeping us from getting what we're entitled to, or they're the ones siphoning off of what we have built or what we have, when the main people who have expropriated African American gains for their self-interest have been non-African immigrants, Latinos, white women, homosexuals. They never talk about them at all. You see, so my thing is, as a Pan-Africanist, we believe in the unity of all African people. And to separate yourself away from our African immigrant brothers and sisters so you don't have to share any of your resources from your reparations package is selfish, ridiculous, and unnecessary. We approach the issues that affect our people from a global perspective. We need Africa. Africa needs us. The entire diaspora is interconnected and interdependent. We need each other. Yes, there's Africans who don't like African Americans. There's African Americans who don't like Caribbean Africans. There's Caribbean Africans who don't like British Africans. There's Canadian Africans who don't like Brazilian Africans. Yes, we have bigotry within the African race, but I'm bigger than that. And the Pan-African movement is bigger than that. And we understand that united we stand, divided we fall. To simply answer your question, you don't have to demonize African immigrants, and you don't have to weaponize your American African identity in order to protect your share of reparations. It's an unnecessary evil that was added to the pot that is undoing the relationship between Africans in the diaspora that many of us has been working towards for the greater part of our lives. And I would dare suggest, I don't think it's true, but it's possible. It at least has to be considered whether or not these movements are being financed by anti-African interests. Because these organizations really take off when? Around 2019, which is the year of return, when African governments was reaching their hands out to Africans in the diaspora saying, come home and be with us. I was in Ghana for the year of return celebration in 2019. So you mean to tell me it's just a coincidence that at a time when Pan-Africanism is at its height, these anti-African immigrant groups come from out of nowhere and start attacking and demonizing and criticizing and belittling African immigrants at the very time that the Pan-African movement is beginning to take off again? I wouldn't be surprised if I read a COINTELPRO paper 10 years from now that say that this was financed by the FBI. I'm not saying it is, because I think they would have chose better people to lead these movements if it was a government-financed thing. But I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to rule out the potential that there's some government involvement in these anti-Pan-African movements. Because let us be clear, the United States government has already spoken. It's been spoken of several times in national security study memorandums that the unification of American Africans and continental Africans is the greatest threat to American foreign interests. This comes from the State Department. The State Department said the only threat to what we trying to do to this world, which is basically dominated, is the interconnected political economic unity of American Africans and African Americans. Not Christianity, not Islam, not this, not that. Pan-Africanism is the only threat America has identified as being a risk to its global agenda.
Is that even a possibility that we could connect back with each other in that manner?
Why not?
For one, I have some African friends that close friends with me. Like, I have, shout out to all my brothers in the city that we like slept together like brothers. And they expressed a lot of deep stuff to me, and they only trusted me because I'm West Indian. They definitely believe and taught in their culture, if you're American Black, that you are bad. And the only reason I was even accepted is because, my West Indian background. So I'm wondering, again, how do we, with that bridge, how do we even, if they don't even trust us, how do we?
We have to make sure we don't overgeneralize. As I said earlier, there's bigotry in every African population in the world, everywhere. There's nowhere you're going to go and not find some Black people who ain't got an issue with some Black people from somewhere else. But guess what? White people go through the same thing. Jews think they're better than Italians. Italians think they better than the French. French think they're better than the Irish. Let's go to the Asians. Chinese think they're better than Koreans. Koreans think they're better than Vietnamese. Japanese think they're better than the rest of them. So you have that in every race. So we don't have to be a utopia. The question is, can there be operational unity? And I believe that there can be, because as someone who's traveled every continent except Australia, where I'll be in the spring, there are genuine Pan-Africanists in Africa who want that unity. There are genuine Pan-Africanists in Jamaica who want that unity. There are genuine Pan-Africanists in Canada and France and London and in South America who want that unity. The issue is those of us who want it got to come together. That's all it is. Let's be honest. The white man is doing everything he can to keep us apart. Do you know that I've been told by Africans that when they come here, they're told by immigration not to mix with us? They're told. And another thing I think that we often discount, the African immigrants, and I'm not saying anything bad against my African immigrant brothers and sisters. The Africans you meet in America are a certain kind of an African. They're the ones that the country felt comfortable enough with to let them over here. They're not letting the Pan-African revolutionaries over here. You understand me? They let that 3% that we got, it's a certain kind. The radicals don't get here. I got friends in Africa who've been trying to get a visa for 30 years to visit me in America. Won't let them out the country. You know why? Because they real. You see what I'm saying? In a lot of African countries, you got to play the lottery to get a visa. You got to win the lottery to get a visa. Whether you can afford it or not, they don't even care. They're only letting a few of you out because they don't want the unity amongst the revolutionary Pan-Africanists. So we're judging an entire continent of nearly 1 billion people by a couple million African immigrants who happen to dance to the tune that America wants them to. We got to be careful with that. And so many brothers and sisters who take issue with the Pan-African program and who actually espouse the viewpoint that you just argued, they never been to the continent. You got people saying Africa don't want us. You never been there. You see, so my thing is we got to broaden our horizons. And at the end of the discussion, what this really is about, it's about American Africans who believe they have a future with the white man that offers more promise than a future with the black man elsewhere. That's the bottom line here. All these people you're talking about, these FBAs and ADOS, they believe they have a greater chance of working with this racist white man in America to achieve their ends than collaborating with their brothers and sisters around the globe. And I can tell them right now, history will prove them wrong. The only salvation for African people is with African people. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, a strong man is strong everywhere. I've seen it. When I travel, Jews are respected everywhere I've been. Arabs are respected everywhere I've been. Anglo-Saxons respected everywhere I've been. East Indians everywhere I've been. Guess who's disrespected everywhere I've been? Even in Africa, we are. Nobody respects us. They pay us no attention because we have no power. And power comes through organization. In order to build political and economic strength, we got to be organized. We are not where we are because we're black. We're where we are because we choose not to get organized because we're black. Why the Chinese running the world right now? The Chinese are the most organized people. When Mao Zedong started the Chinese Revolution, do you know what he did? He sent his students around the world to study what everybody else was doing. Not to compete, but to imitate. Mao said, we're not going to compete with the one who make the gun. We're not going to compete with the one who do the laptop. We're not going to compete with the one who make the airplane. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to make a bootleg version. We're going to make the imitation version. We're not going to compete with you. We're just going to take what you make and sell it at a cheaper price. And that's why China runs the world. China is the Walmart of the planet Earth. And you know what the wisdom of China? China looked and said, the white man is the king of capitalism. He wants to make all the money, but he sells everything at an expensive price. Most people in the world live on less than $1 a day. So the Chinese said, if most people in the world live on less than $1 a day, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cater to the poor man. So guess who sells all the cheap goods in the world? China. Who needs the cheap goods in the world? The world. So the reason America can't sabotage China is China undersells the white man. What you going to do with them? China is the leading producer of small goods, small arms, cheap food, cheap, your dollar store stuff. Guess where it's all coming from? If I live in Africa, I can't afford to live like y'all live in America. If I'm living in South Asia, I can't afford to live like y'all live in America. I wouldn't even want to hear nothing Joe Biden got to say. Bring me China, because China, I can afford what China's selling. I can't afford what America's selling. And then Mao Zedong made his Chinese children never thirst to imitate another people. That was the purpose of the Chinese Revolution. You do not want to be white, you are Chinese. And then he copied Marcus Garvey. He copied what Garvey did in Harlem. The Harlem Renaissance, which was largely influenced by Marcus Garvey, they had a Chinese Renaissance, Chinese Revolution. They wrote Chinese books, Chinese artwork. Chinese people wasn't trying to be Chinese. They were trying to imitate Russians and Americans. Mao Zedong said, we're going to love who we are. And for 20 years, there was nothing done in China that wasn't positive and affirmative to the Chinese people. Look where they at now. Now in China, they'll call Mao Zedong all kind of names. And don't get me wrong, he wasn't no saint. But guess what? They don't get where they are without him. And guess what he used to do it? Garveyism.
That's Marcus Garvey. When we talk about the progression of our people, our community, of course, globally, the family is the foundation of that.
Yes, ma'am.
When I look at some of the statistics, I cannot deny the parallels.
Mm-hmm.
So the Department of Justice says 1 in 4 of our brothers will have contact with the criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm.
And the census says only 1 in 4 of our sisters will experience marriage. What do you think the commonality is between those two statistics?
One of the things that we often leave out when we talk about black on black love, and for the record, I only support black on black love. I do not believe in colorblind love. Okay, we need to love ourselves first. We leave out the role of economics. Most black households had 2 parents until the 1970s. Overwhelmingly, there was a mom and a dad present. Whether they were legally married to the white man's state department is irrelevant to me, because I don't think you got to marry the state in order to be a married couple, right? Mm-hmm. But they were married. There was a husband and a wife in there, or a mother, father together. Mm-hmm. You don't begin to see the decline of that and the rise of the single mother until the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And do you know why? After they assassinated Dr. King in 68, and after they assassinated Fred Hampton in 69, and after they assassinated Soledad brother George Jackson in 1971, they said, we ain't gonna have no more black revolutions. And the government said, what can we do to stop another black revolution? They said, most of them was financed by black people. Small businesses, small black businesses financed the Black Power movement, financed the Black Panthers, financed Stokely, financed H. Rap Brown, financed the sit-ins, the Freedom Rides, and all of that. So you know what we gotta do to break the back of the Black Power movement? Break the black dollar. If you break the black dollar, there will be no black power. And they came into all the major black communities and they systemically removed all the industrial building trade programs from our high schools. Remember, in the 60s, our grandfathers was taught how to be welders, plumbers, carpenters, masons, auto mechanics. They didn't go to college. And they lived better lives than we live, you see.
They were homeowners.
Absolutely. With skills that pay the bills. Back then, they taught the skills that pay the bills. 1970s, they would never teach the skills that pay the bills on a mass scale anymore. They took them out. And not only did they take out the industrial building trades from the high schools, they took all the factory jobs out the inner city. Newark, New Jersey, that was a factory center. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was a factory center. Chicago, that was industrial. Detroit, Milwaukee, those were Gary, Indiana. Go look at Gary, Indiana now. They stripped it of the economic foundation, which was the industrial building trades and the industrial factory jobs. And then in 1980, they dropped the crack off and dropped the AIDS off. 1990, Bill Clinton's crime bill. Year 2000, George W. Bush's faith-based initiative where they start financing black religion to stay out of the freedom struggle. That's why the black church been missing in action since the year 2000. 23 years, you can't find them when it comes to our biggest problems because they've been financed to stay out of it. So getting back to your question, what black man you know is going to be in a rush to get married to a woman he can't take care of? If we not talking jobs, we can't talk families. If we talking jobs, we can't talk, unless we talking jobs, we can't talk families, especially now, because we've raised our children for the past 23 years on what? a steady diet of European materialism, conspicuous consumption. They need Nike. They need Balenciaga. They need Gucci, Louis Vuitton. What am I going to do as a broke black man approaching a 40-year-old sister? I want to be your king. I want you to be my queen. I want us to make babies. And she looking at me like, where the job at? I'm doing some vending. I'm doing some hustling. I ain't got nothing. You think she going to let me put that ring on that finger? Until we build up black men economically, we will never build back up the black family. What is the number one job of a man? To protect and provide. We can protect, but we ain't able to provide. And now America, this entire time they was destroying black men, what was they doing with black women? Educating and employing. Do you know black women are the only women in America who out-earn and out-educate their mates? We're the only one. Our women have more degrees than us and make more money than us. But let me clarify with you, Queen. That's not a problem by itself. Just because my wife make more money than me, that ain't no problem. You know why it becomes a problem? When people ask her why. It's the interpretation of the difference. When they ask the black woman, why you make more money than your husband? Because he lazy. He's shiftless. He irresponsible. He don't want nothing out of life. See that? It's the reasons why. And then when they ask the black man, why your woman make more money than you? Because she masculine. She want to dominate me. She don't want no black man telling her nothing. She working with the white man against the black man. It's not the fact that sisters make more money. It's the reasons why she believes she does. And it's the reasons why we believe she does. And guess what? Both of the reasons come from white folks. We are taking what white people taught us about each other and we're using it against each other. The new war against black man is against the black family. We're going to stop the love. That's what they, look at it. Look at your commercials. All the commercials, what you see? Black man, white woman.
Or
black woman.
Ambiguous.
Right, or racially ambiguous. But let me ask you a question. White people not in love with black folks. Police killing us every day. So why y'all got our kids thinking white people in a rush to marry black folks? Because they want to brainwash the children out of black love. If you notice, our children are being brainwashed into believing that you can only love someone of the same gender or someone of another race. You don't see no black on black. What happened to the Jeffersons? What happened to the Cosby Show? What happened to Good Times? What happened to all them shows where you had black on black love? You don't see it. Blackish, you got black on black love. But of course, the wife is mixed race and there's nothing against, Diana Ross's daughter. But my point is, it ain't the same black on black skin love you saw in the 70s TV shows. This is for the children. It's not for us. They want to brainwash black kids against wanting a spouse of the same race. So if we're not teaching our kids about black love, there will be no black love. And guess what's helping this? Colorblind black folks. I had black mothers tell me, I can't tell my son to only marry a black woman. Excuse me? I've had black mothers tell me I cannot tell my son to only marry a black woman because of their beliefs. Do you hear what I'm telling you? I can't do that because I believe in this and my religion don't allow me to do this. This is what they tell me. So I said, why are you complaining about not being able to find a good black man? How are you going to say you can't find a good black man, but you can't tell your son to marry a black woman? We losing ourselves. And guess what? These white women, they on a mission. They on a mission. They are either there to bankrupt you or incarcerate you. Look at what happened over the past week. Puffy got hit with another lawsuit. Marcellus Wiley hit with a lawsuit. Bill Cosby hit with a lawsuit. Jamie Foxx hit with a lawsuit. Now, not every accuser is white, but overwhelmingly they are. And you see the old crusty snow bunny that's after Bill Cosby? Guess when he allegedly violated her? 1972. I wasn't even born yet.
I think fornication destroys black love. I'm always, I know you're going to
I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But we still have to look at the entrapment that is being done by the white power structure in order to take back the resources of black men so they're not available for the community, right? Even if you look at Kobe Bryant, who was murdered because he was going to start his own sneaker brand to compete with Nike in his own professional basketball league to compete with the NBA. Kobe Bryant was murdered.
It wasn't a plane crash?
It was a murder through the plane
Okay, you know, I want to know.
Yeah, through the plane.
Know.
Yeah, yeah.
School me. I don't
Remember, whenever you study assassination, you gotta look at the timing. What
This
was
is
Kobe?
info for
What
me.
was Kobe about to do the week that he was
I had
assassinated?
no idea.
He was going to choose the first edition of the new Kobe sneaker. So he had his own sneaker label.
And that was enough to kill him?
Nike is the #1 tennis shoe company in the world. Kobe Bryant is second only to Michael Jordan in terms of stature.
So
Some would,
Kobe was going to come out with his own.
yes, that was going to be owned by the players. The players were going to own their sneakers.
So how come his death stopped that? Why when his wife took over? And
Because his wife wasn't thinking about that. She ain't black. She ain't going to go on with that, which is the point that I'm making. It died with Kobe. And then he was going to start a professional basketball league that was going to be headquartered in China, America's nemesis.
what proof we have of that?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I've spoken with people who know him. And if you do your research online, there's enough people talking about it.
That he was really assassinated.
Yes. There is no official word that it was an assassination. There's no official word that Whitney Houston was assassination. Is there anybody
She was assassinated too?
Right.
Bro, I want to. You got the goods? Tell me the goods. I don't know. I watch the news like anyone else. You got the goods? Give me the goods.
Okay.
I hear it.
Whitney Houston was assassinated because
I thought she was on drugs and slipped
was.
in the water.
a lot of people on drugs.
So, yeah.
The
But I thought she was on drugs and
Did you
slipped
hear
in
what
the
the
water.
coroner said about the water?
No.
Was the water hot or cold? Does anybody
No.
It was hot. I can't remember if it was hot or cold, but the coroner said the temperature of the water, I think it was hot. The coroner said the temperature of the water was so hot, nobody could forcibly keep themselves submerged in it. So how did Whitney Houston drown if the coroner said nobody could have forcibly kept themselves in water submerged that hot? Not only that, her cousin said they found almost no traces of drugs in her blood when they blamed it on drugs. Whitney Houston was murdered because she was going to order an audit on all of her royalties. She was going to
on the
demand,
big record executive.
absolutely, and she was going to demand her masters back.
On the big record
And
executive.
she wanted her publishing, just like Mike. They killed Mike. Michael Jackson owned half of Sony. Michael Jackson owned half of Sony Records.
So they killed Mike.
You damn right. They sabotaged his
They
events.
killed Prince too?
Yes.
So you telling me? So wait, this is good stuff. Hey, look, I watched that turn on the news and this what I hear. So you got the goods? Tell me. So like.
When Prince supposedly overdosed, they did a quick what they do?
Autopsy.
So Prince wasn't on drugs too and did some
Prince was
fentanyl.
cremated. He ain't got a gravesite.
I don't think so.
I didn't know
So
that.
he didn't.
I didn't know that.
So he
I didn't know
wasn't
that.
on fentanyl or died.
I didn't know they cremated Tupac. I didn't know
fentanyl?
that. I didn't know. Yeah. Remember, Warner Brothers wanted Prince's unpublished music. He didn't want to give it to him. So they tricked him. They tricked him and said, let us do the 25th or 30th anniversary of Purple Rain. They said, if you let us remaster Purple Rain, we're going to give you all your publishing.
Right.
Excuse me, masters. Prince wanted his masters. They gave him his masters back. He was dead within a year.
So if you privy to all of this, I gotta know this. Yeah, Dr. Sebi, they killed too?
And I believe
They
Lisa
killed
Left Eye
Dr. Sebi
Lopez.
too?
I believe Lisa Left
And
Eye Lopez
Lopez?
was also killed because she was going to finance
Y'all
Dr.
kidding me.
Sebi's products to go worldwide. Yeah.
All of these people were murdered, assassinated.
Man,
Brother, this is white supremacy.
They just admitted in 1999, this is a fact. The government settled a lawsuit with the King family for being part of the assassination
Yes.
of Dr. King in
Yes.
1999.
They proved in court
They proved it.
that it was the FBI who killed him, not James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray was a fall guy.
Yeah, he was the patsy.
Also
All right.
have to bear in mind, this is the government that convinced the nation a magic bullet.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let me figure this out. Because since he privy to it, I gotta know this one.
Go ahead.
Who killed Biggie and Pop?
Pac was killed. I believe Pac's murder was a collaboration, like Malcolm's. So it was largely LAPD, right? And there were undercover FBI agents in the LAPD. And David Kenner, the president of Death Row, was an FBI informant. You feel me? The FBI needed Tupac dead because he had too many plans to politicize the gangs in LA and across the country. Remember, him and Tupac just started an organization called Us First. That's why he was at the Tyson fight to support him over that. That was supposed to be like a race first thing for black youth. They couldn't afford that. You got to remember, the government, remember what the Black Panther Party did to this country, almost brought it to its knees. Black liberation almost brought it to its knees. You see what I'm saying? Tupac, the #1 selling rapper, the most popular rapper, is also a Black Panther revolutionary. Can't have that. He got to die. So they used death row. You see what I'm saying? Just like the FBI used the Nation of Islam for Malcolm. You see, so you're looking at LAPD, you're looking at FBI, and you're looking at people within death row.
And Biggie?
I don't necessarily believe that Biggie's murder may have had political implications, but I do know this. We all know this. Puffy and Big was under surveillance at the time of their murder. Right. You know what that means? The FBI know who shot you. And there was a reason they wanted Biggie dead. I'm not sure what that is.
Was Eazy-E assassinated too?
I believe he was.
Yeah.
I believe he was. Because when you listen to the people who was around Eazy, like Bone Thugs, they said he had good strength, good energy. They said as soon when he found out he got AIDS, he was dead in like a month. I know people who died of AIDS. They don't die in a month.
30, 40 years.
They killed Eazy. Yeah. They killed Eazy. I think when Eazy went to the White House and met with the president, I think something was up with that. I believe he was injected with AIDS, if he died of AIDS at all.
That's what I believe.
They might have killed him with something else and called it AIDS. They might have killed him. They might have did it with something else and called it.
Like the freeway Willie Watson on Compton, how they dropped the drugs, the crack.
Yeah.
Of the finance Iran-Contra war.
Absolutely.
And I got all.
And still selling the crack to finance the undercover project.
Now, all right, so
and you also got to remember something. At the time Eazy died, Eazy was about to bring NWA back together again. There's a lot of people who couldn't afford for Dre to go back to Eazy.
Now,
you feel me on that?
So
you feel me on that?
I
believe Eazy was murdered to keep Dre over there with Jimmy Iovine and them.
That sounds correct because they was meeting up.
Yeah.
Now, are these the same people, this entity? And who is this entity? You say just a white man? Is that just a white man?
You got the music industry cartel. You got the Hollywood cartel. But let's zero out. There's an organization called the Bilderbergers.
The Bilderberg.
You heard of them?
Of course, I studied.
AKA the Council of 300, right? So guess what? The CEO of Sony sits at that table. You see what I'm saying? The CEO of Universal sits at that table, right? All your major Hollywood houses have a CEO at that table. All your major media, Time Magazine, News.
Barack Obama.
Absolutely. So when you talk about these political assassinations, these things are voted on.
So
and
Barack
decided.
Obama is a part of them?
No, Barack is not a Bilderberg.
But he
but he carries out the agenda of the Bilderberg
group.
Wait, let me take that back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take that back. Let me tell you why I'm gonna take that back. Let me tell you what I just remembered. Before Obama got elected the first time, it was announced on national TV.
By the Bilderberg.
Him and Hillary had to go meet with the Bilderbergers. Yes. But that don't mean he's a Bilderberger. No. It just means he sat at the table.
All right, so I don't know if you know.
Because
Krishna?
Bill Gates is a Bilderberger.
Krishna?
What, the Christ of the Indian?
No, what's his name? I might be saying his name wrong. He's a part of one of the major dudes in the Bilderberg group.
Okay.
Before Obama was president, he was his secretary.
You may be talking about
Kissinger.
Okay.
He was Kissinger.
Right, Secretary of State Kissinger.
Yeah.
But there was somebody else who was a Bilderberger who was even more prominent than Kissinger, and that's Zbigniew Brzezinski, who created the Trilateral Commission for the Rockefeller. He was the one who announced Obama would be president before Obama ran.
And so did Kissinger.
Yeah.
Before I knew anything about Obama, I saw Kissinger
Kissinger is a Rockefeller.
That this guy Obama is going to be a good president one day and everything. And I'm looking. And that was years before Obama became president.
Yes, and Kissinger is the one who wrote the National Security Study Memorandum 2000 that everybody needs to read.
So
it came out in 1974. You must read it. This was the document that said we need to start reducing the population of black people in the world. It's on the internet. You can read it.
All right. So
because remember, he was Secretary of State. He put it out. And then when Jimmy Carter became president, he came out with Global 2000. So this was 74 and then like 81. And it's the first time that a modern government studied population growth and decided to do something about reducing it. Out of this came birth control, the IUD, the intrauterine device. And did you know that the Rockefellers, the Ford Foundation, they own a lot of your birth contraceptive devices? Yes.
All right. So they the ones that
And
also,
they engineered the LGBT campaign.
I believe that.
Yes.
And they also the ones that destroyed the positive rap that was in the 80s,
Yes,
like X-Clan, Public Enemy, and
they had to
everything
go
like
gangster in order to fill up the prisons.
So let me
Right
add,
at the time a private prison industry was taking off, they had to go gangster.
So let me ask you this: with the Bilderberg group and
the gangster rap also helped to push the agenda to criminalize the young black male. Because remember, in the 1960s, during civil rights, we were seen as victims. In the 1970s, during the Black Panthers and the Black Liberation Army, we were seen as victims. We were oppressed. 1980s is the first time we go from victim to criminal. And that's why they needed the gangster rap to pick up the gangster image to help paint that narrative that black people ain't nothing but a bunch of criminals, and we bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and ain't stopped yet.
So again, the group that is not necessarily...
Bilderberger is the strongest secret society.
The strongest
There's multiple
one,
though. You still got Skull and Bones, right?
Skull and Bones,
you still got the Bilderbergs, Skull and Bones. You got the Order of Rome. You got the Knights of Templar. You got the Masons. You got about 50 different cells of white supremacy. The Bilderbergs, in my opinion, are the number one right now.
All right, so
you don't make a major decision without
when you study these groups, and I guess you would know too, and you would know. Do they have they have secret ceremonies?
Yes,
and
they have
all
rituals.
Of this stuff like that.
Many of them have some, not all of them, but many of them have an angle into demonology. Yeah. So, one of the reasons why our children are being so sexually trafficked. And by the way, who's the number one commodity on the underground sex trafficking ring? A black girl aged 12 to 17. Yeah. More than the white women. They don't want Kim Kardashian. You feel me? They want black girls 12 to 17. And the reason why they're trying to legalize pedophilia is because these secret societies often use children in their rituals, sodomy and execution. And some of them drink the brain fluid. In other words, the vampire metaphor is a very real metaphor. They believe that by sodomizing virgin children, they live longer. They also believe by drinking the brain fluid of virgin children, they live longer. So the reason why they're trying to normalize pedophilia is because rich, white, powerful men can't afford to be getting implicated and arrested because they'll end up like Epstein. The reason they had to execute Epstein, did you hear what Epstein said? He said, I'm not going down by myself. When Epstein said, I'm not going down by myself, they had to kill him because Bill Gates was on that plane. Donald Trump was on that plane. The Obamas was on that plane. And I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You know what's going on right now? They're investigating all the black people who Epstein paid to cover up. Because what they did was they flew the children into St. Thomas, right? And then they would get on a private plane and go to the Epstein Island. So customs had to be aware of all these children coming in. And they were black people, some blacks, not all, who helped put them kids on another plane to go to the Epstein Island. So now they're trying to lynch all of them too. But getting to my point, the reason why child sex trafficking is as big as it is because these secret societies need fresh bodies for their rituals.
And so with that being said, what is so interesting to me is that when I hear these rituals and I hear these ceremonies and I hear it's no way for me to ignore that they're being controlled by an outside entity. That
I agree. See, when you brought up Satan, okay. I practice Yoruba spirituality out of Nigeria.
You might have a different name for it.
No, but stay with me. We don't believe in a supreme evil being as Satan. But there is negative energy and there is negative forces. We would decentralize your concept of Satan just to make it simple. But the point that I'm making is this. We do need a spiritual foundation because our enemy is using his. Do you follow what I'm saying? The white man is not all money and bombs. The white man is very much about tapping into evil energy.
That's exactly what I was saying.
No, I get that. But my comeback for that was the very institutions that's supposed to fight evil also have these rituals too. Look at the Roman Catholic Church. And all the children, they've been ritualized through sex.
We don't stand with them, though. We can't. And we can't.
I agree with you, but hear me out.
We can't confuse the good people.
I agree with you, but here's where I'm going to hold y'all accountable.
Because we do have Christian
I
brothers
agree with you.
that follow that
I
word
agree with you.
and actually have nothing
I
to do
agree
with
with
the
you.
Roman church.
I agree with you.
And follow those scriptures.
I agree with you. But here's where we would mildly
Okay,
disagree.
yes.
And I'm going to draw a parallel with the hip hop community.
Yes.
Let me draw my parallel and I'm going to come back.
Gotcha.
Maybe to help it make sense.
Yeah.
When I talk about how gangster rap is destroying the minds of our young people, a lot of the hip hop artists will say, well, that's not hip hop. You can't allow gangster rap to be hip hop at the hip hop awards. And you can't allow gangster rap to be hip hop at the hip hop celebration. And you can't allow gangster rap to be hip hop any other time. But the minute I say the music is negatively influencing our children, now all of a sudden you want to disassociate it from hip hop. You see that? That's a cop out. Because what it says is you don't want to take accountability for the evil done in the name of your institution. Rather than hold it accountable and check it, you just want to redefine it out of existence so you don't have to confront it. So my issue with brothers and sisters in the Christ faith is when y'all see evil, not you, but systemically, when y'all see evil done in the name of the church, rather than confront it and deal with it, which you might stay with me, but generally they don't do that. You know what they'll do? That's not Christian behavior. You see that? So you never go and deal with it. You never go and confront the molestation. You just say that's outside the definition of what a real Christian is. But any other time, you include that church as a church. Any other time, they included as Christians. Any other time, they welcomed into the, you see what I'm saying? So my thing is we got to stop, I feel you, but we got to stop redefining misbehavior out of the scope of our institutions because we ain't got the courage to hold somebody accountable. You feel where I'm coming from? We got to stop doing that. It's like if I find out my son is stealing or beating on somebody's daughter and somebody come and tell me that, I'm supposed to go check my son. I can't say, well, he ain't been living at home for 20 years and, you know, I didn't raise my kids to do. That ain't the point. Your son beat on his daughter. Go do something about it. Them gangster rappers is influencing our children. And y'all consider them hip hop any other time, go deal with it. Them Christians is over there molesting kids. Don't tell me that's not Christian behavior. Go check them in the name of the church.
On this
but
side.
do you see what I'm saying?
I totally get
Okay,
it. And I
okay,
want to
yes, sir.
add to that point. So what do you have to say to someone say that is not hip hop? That's rap music.
Okay.
And rap music and hip hop is not the same thing.
Okay.
And it's
Then
only
change
to
the name
those
of the BET
that
Awards.
are listening to
Change
it.
the name. Then we got to check. Then we need
But
to see
we don't
some name.
control that part though.
That ain't true.
It's
We
the
have
listeners
influence.
that it's the listeners. I don't control. I don't have no
we have
influence
enough
over BET.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. But collectively, we have enough influence.
Yeah, but
In other words, ostracize it then. Ostracize it. And tell BET if it's gangster rap, it can't be considered for album of the year.
I mean,
Go and tell Billboard if it's gangster rap, it can't be on the Billboard for hip hop. You see what I'm saying? If we're going to do it, do it all the way.
Right now, with me and you
I feel you.
saying
I
to
feel
the
you.
world
Yes, sir.
that's not to the world. Hip hop and rap is two different things.
But then I got to
we
challenge
went
you
down
again, though.
the
You want to know
wrong
why?
way when we started
I don't think
rapping.
you can separate the two. Let me tell you why.
Okay,
Let me tell you why. You know why you can't separate gangster rap from hip hop? Because if you was to list the top 10 rappers of all time, many of them had very serious, strong gangster rap elements to their music. Is Jay-Z hip hop?
No.
You would say Jay-Z is not hip hop?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. If I would say hip hop,
Okay.
I would say again, hip hop was something a little bit different.
But
You
with
know what I'm
most
saying?
hip hoppers
So-
say Jay-Z is hip hop.
But that's most people, but they don't understand.
But see, when you say they don't understand, I feel you.
Yeah.
But you can't dismiss it like that. There has to be a conference.
Yes,
There has to be dialogue,
starts
discussion,
now.
and votes taken
Yeah, it
on what
starts
is
now.
and what out. Because what you can't have is a million
So
different
could I-
definitions for the same concept.
So can I explain? And I wasn't there.
I feel you.
I know Grandmaster Caz,
I
and
feel you.
I'm gonna ask them these questions.
I got you.
And I had interviews with them, and they answered this. When hip hop was started, it was for the inner city boys
Yes, sir.
to get a way
Yes,
out. It
sir.
had nothing to do with
Yes, sir.
music. It was so they wouldn't be with the
Yes, sir.
gangs, so they wouldn't be with the corners.
culture
and it
created
was
out of nothing.
And it was a positivity that
Yes, it
was
was.
put in there that was
It was
under script
creative
for
and progressive.
for your ear.
Yes.
Now, Rap music came about when they figured out somewhere that they can do comedy. And that was the first rap music. When they decided, like the Fat Boys and stuff like that, that was not hip hop. That was comedy rap. And when they figured out, oh, we could switch it from this and use comedy rap, gangster rap came right after that, because now you saw it could get manipulated.
I agree with you,
and
but
it
here's
was
my
no
question
longer
to you.
hip hop.
Here's
Now
my question
that's
to you.
rap music.
If that was no longer hip hop and it became rap, separate from what was created, I agree with that. Why was there no movement to clarify that?
And that's KRS-One would be sitting here soon, and I would be asking my brother that I love very much, how did that happen? Because I blame him. You know, he's one of the, he said, when KRS-One said, and KRS-One, you know, you are a part of me. So it's no offense. I'm LL Cool J, Rakim, and KRS-One. So it's no offense to nobody. But when KRS-One said he was the god of hip hop, and he threw PM Don off the stage.
Okay.
How the hell did you allow NWA, you know what I'm saying, and all these other guys to come out in the early 90s with that gangster music and that stuff that you should have knew as the god of hip hop, as who you was going to hurt us. If you thought PM Don was a threat and you had to go to their concert and grab them and throw them off the stage, why didn't you do that with NWA and the rest of these clowns that they wasn't real gangsters? You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it was that much of a threat. And we already know BDP was strong anyway.
Right.
Why didn't you go stop
even before
their shows?
NWA though, because I don't want to scapegoat the West Coast, because the East Coast
of
also had
course.
its gangster.
I don't.
You
Again,
feel me?
I don't
We
want to
had our
name names.
Coogee raps and we had our gangster
Coogee
thing
rap was
too.
positive though. He gave you the real other side of it.
I understand, but that was still there though. The gangster piece was growing before NWA. The momentum was there for NWA to take it on.
It's not
I don't
about
want NWA to be seen as the
name,
scapegoat.
But they were. For me, because I'm that age, I went right from KRS-One and, you know, X-Clan to a year later, you know, fuck the police and kill a bitch and all of that.
Right, but all I'm saying is the momentum was building on the East Coast with the gangster rap, and NWA just jumped on that momentum. And
I mean,
in other words, they could have checked it before it got out of hand.
Yeah,
NWA is out of hand.
Yeah,
it could have been checked before that. But that's a contradiction that has to be dealt with. You see?
But that's what I said.
And I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm gonna
be honest with you.
I will ask him.
Right.
Why didn't you? Because I do hold him.
I got you.
When you said you was the
and it
god
ain't just about him though.
Hip hop.
It's the whole community.
Yeah, but he said he was the god.
Right.
You know, once he put himself in that.
Right, but one man can't make a movement though. It was all of them.
Then
who
you
should have come together.
Said you the god of
and
hip-hop.
Guess what? They could have confronted, but you don't even have to confront. Clarify. Clarify. Y'all gonna call this something different. You got a press conference. Y'all gonna call this something different. And you know why nobody clarified? I'm gonna tell you why they didn't clarify. One of the reasons, people wanted to get paid.
Yeah, they said.
And if nigga and bitch is going to make the money, I'm not gonna say a word because I want a payday. That's why. At some point, and we may never be able to prove this empirically, but at some point in the history of hip hop, like every other aspect of black culture, when it's about to be capitalized upon by Caucasians, exploited by Caucasians, and colonized by Caucasians, we step back and say, we know this ain't good for the culture. But if this is going to get me paid, I'm not going to say nothing.
But Chris never went that way, though.
I'm not saying him.
Yeah.
Remember, we're speaking about the culture.
No,
so it's more than one person.
Yeah. But he was big
I know.
centipede.
KRS-One was
Public Enemy. I mean, it was a whole lot of them
Right.
that Public Enemy started doing shows with NWA. You know, like,
What did I just say? If I can get paid, I'm not going to say nothing. Because guess what? Even though you saying nigga, bitch, hoe, I don't agree with it. But guess what? If you performing
got you
at the LA Coliseum and I get a chance to open up for you with my positive message, guess what? I'm not saying nothing because you are opening up an opportunity for me. Here's the point that I'm making. Everybody sold out hip hop, even the originators. Do you feel me? I'm not going to say they all sold it out to the same extent. Everybody sold out hip hop, including the originators, because I think a lot of people paused on the direction because they said this might open up the door for more money. More money, more problems. And it ain't just hip hop. If you look at every aspect of black culture, jazz, soul food, black spirituality, African spirituality, we going through a thing through that right now. Where the white folks are coming in, trying to become priests, and because they got that moolah.
What you doing initiating white folks into this? Didn't they steal enough? You want to give them the secrets about spiritual code? No. But that's the problem with us as African people. Do we stand on culture and principle? Or is it all about the dollar? That is one of the central contradictions. It takes me to Deion Sanders. Everybody knows I was very critical of Deion Sanders, right? Because why would you leave Jackson State, Mississippi, predominantly black city, predominantly black HBCU, and go to a school, this lily-ass white school in Boulder, Colorado, with less than 2% black students, and in a city with less than 1% whites? Why would you do that? It was a takeover. But guess what? If you all about the money, it was the move. But if you about the culture, you stay your ass in Jackson, you build that school up, and you help the HBCU take back all of our Division I high school athletes. Because if Deion Sanders would have started an HBCU revolution, where our top athletes from high school coming back to the HBCU, do you know what that would have did for the revenue? Do you know what kind of stadium Jackson could have built? Do you know how much money we would have had to revitalize all these HBCUs? Deion Sanders was in a position to start an economic revolution to save the HBCU, and he sold it out for money. I'm gonna go the same thing with the originators of hip hop. You feel me? There's probably a few exceptions, but everybody ain't exempt. Hip hop doesn't become what it become without the silent complicity of its founding fathers.
But what about the ones that never made no money from it? You know,
Stay with me. You about to go gangster, right? I never made no money off you, but I stayed quiet because I thought I would. Do you feel me?
Gotcha.
I thought I would. Sooner or later, I thought the train was coming back to pick me up. Just because it never picked me up doesn't absolve me of responsibility. What's that famous quote?
Shut it down.
What's that famous quote? It says, the world is in great peril, not from the men who do evil, but from the ones who watch it and say nothing. Do you feel me? That's what happened to hip hop. They saw it and said nothing because they thought that check was coming. If we're going to be honest about hip hop history, that has to be said. It got to be dealt with. There was complicity in all points.
How do we now solve all of this? At this point, we got drill music.
You know what the problem is now?
Programmed
we don't own the product.
Yeah, I mean, that's
do you see what I'm saying? We don't own the product, which takes us to another.
But we got to get our babies to stop. You know, how do we get our young men? We still own the creativity in the minds of our sons. I got 3 sons in here.
We can get them back, but you know what the problem?
Ain't gonna write no crap.
We can get them back, but it's going to take us as long, if not longer, to get them back as it took them to pollute them. So if you say gangster rap was around 85, right, give or take a few years, 95, 05, 15, it's almost 25. They have 40-year run on conditioning our children with money, materialism, and murder and misogyny. If we want to undo that, it might take us another 40 years to undo that. We can do it. We can do it. But you're going to need some heavy hitters on your team that the children are going to listen to take it back this way. People criticize me for meeting with Sister Suki Hana, right?
Yes.
They say, wait a minute, she got the sex music doc, you Pan-African, they selling the... Look, as you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. I cannot do the religious thing. No offense. Well, I'm going to just come in, what you're doing is wrong and sin and stop. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to tune me out. I got to meet them where they are. Build that relationship of influence and slowly let the truth slip in and hope that it leads to a change. If I come to her on some, this shit is wrong, stop acting, I lose her. I lose her. Listen, when I was in the Garvey movement in Philadelphia, you know how we got all the Temple University students? They would come to the Garvey movement and say, what's this red, black, and green? And y'all fighting white people. Y'all hate white people. What's this race first? I love everybody. Don't argue. Just come to the study group. Just come listen. Just watch the Garvey films. And guess what? After about 6 months to a year, they start coming in, joining of their own free will. People say, how you get all them to join your organization? They couldn't stand you a year ago. Because beating people over the head with the truth is not the way to get them. You expose them to the truth. Their mind will come to the truth. We are designed by Almighty Supreme Consciousness to gravitate towards the truth. Just give them the truth. They'll get it. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is you got to meet them where they are and then grow them. But you're going to need some heavy hitters on your team. But I'm going to tell you like this. Our children now, the ones from birth we can save. We ain't going to be able to save all the teenagers now because they are too onto that now. All they know is money and materialism. They're not leaving that. They're intoxicated with it. They're not leaving that.
Just a good laugh. This is
Go ahead,
strictly
go
a
ahead.
good laugh.
I feel you.
You 100% right. So, because in one point, because I would say the truth is Jesus Christ. So yeah, I guess you. That's just a laugh.
So I got a question there. I got a question for you.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. What was the truth before Jesus
There
Christ?
was never no before Jesus. The scriptures asked you. They said that inside the Old Testament, who did they follow? And it said they followed that cloud in the sky, which was the rock, which was Christ.
Okay. So show me evidence.
Here we go.
Cut it out. No.
Here we
Show
go.
me evidence
Faith,
of Jesus
Faith.
Christ
faith.
in traditional African spiritual writing before Jesus Christ. It don't exist. And
The
our
Old
ancestors
Testament.
recorded.
It's the whole Old Testament.
We older than the Old Testament. We before Abraham.
What do you mean?
Abraham is the father
Abraham.
of the Jews. He's the father of the Hebrews.
The Bible starts.
Abraham was
the
born in
Bible
Ur.
starts out with Adam, not Abraham.
But Adam, the biblical Adam, is not the real Adam. Where do y'all say in the Bible Adam originated? Where did God put Adam? Where did he originate on the earth?
What do you mean?
When God made Adam the first man, where did he make him? And when did he make him?
In the Garden of Eden?
Where's that?
It's in Africa.
Where?
I don't know. I wouldn't be no.
Okay, but you can see this in the continent.
According to the Bible, yeah, because of the rivers. The rivers that he tells you the rivers that.
Okay, because the official biblical position is that Adam was put in the Tigris Euphrates Riviera in Western Asia in the so-called Middle East.
Yeah, but
as
that
the
was
birth
all
of Adam.
at the time they were saying all of that was Africa.
Right, but the first man that God created, modern man, he created him in the Congo, in Central Africa, nowhere near the Middle East, nowhere near the Tigris
But how do you
Euphrates
know
River.
that? I don't.
Because they have the remains, they have the sciences. They're in the Congo. They got the whole museum, the birth of man.
I would have to.
It's over. We going. I'm taking a group trip over there.
You let me know. I go.
The birth of man is.
That don't mean I would agree. I would study.
But that's the artifacts. They got the art. That's the bones.
I would study
That's
that.
the dated bones.
Yes,
I'm not a professor in fossil fuels. So just because a man
Well, let me
tell
ask you a
me
question.
that show me a bone and say this is a million years old.
Okay.
I'm not a professor to
I got
know.
you. But let me ask you this: what if you go to Congo? Let's say you go to the Congo, the heart of Africa, and you see that the first man God created was created in the Congo.
How would I know that? What proof?
Let's say you get the proof. The proof is
know
there.
how
The proof is there.
I don't know how.
The proof is there. It's there.
Yeah, I mean,
you can date
definitely
skulls.
I'll go with you.
Archaeologists date trees,
Umar
skulls,
Bigga
dead,
would be Umar
dinosaurs.
and Bigga.
They date everything. Right? But
Umar
stay with
be
me. Stay with me. Stay with me.
together.
You see enough proof to convince you,
Mm-hmm.
man, this is where man was originated. What does that do for your faith in your Bible that told you?
I don't know. How could you get proof? How? Proof is not something that another man wrote down.
But what I find interesting though is how religionists always need overwhelming proof from outsiders, but y'all have very little concrete proof of your own. Y'all have no evidence of nothing.
And
Yeah,
we
but
will
we have
agree
faith.
to disagree.
We have faith.
on that.
And faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
But faith in God is understandable. I know why supreme conscience never revealed itself to mankind. Because we would lose our respect for authority. That's why God remains invisible. Right? Familiarity breeds contempt.
But you see, the same thing you're saying, but the same thing you're saying is what Jesus did. He lowered himself into the form of a servant and took upon himself no reputation. And being found in the fashion of a man, he became obedient even to the death of the cross.
But if Jesus studied under the ancients in
What
Ethiopia
proof you
during
have
his
of that?
childhood,
What proof you have?
there's
of that?
proof out there.
He's-
Then where was he from
What
7 to
proof you
30?
have?
Where was
Yeah,
he?
I don't. Again, the
We do know he
scriptures-
went to go hide in Egypt, right?
Yeah,
We do know he
yeah,
was there.
yeah,
so let's just say he hung around.
Yeah, he was in Egypt.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what you think he was doing in Egypt? The greatest and highest spiritual civilization that ever existed in the world. You don't think he was studying?
Moses was educated by them too.
Because you do know there's a lot of scripture in the Bible.
Yeah,
that
you
has
know
been-
Moses was educated by the Egyptians.
Oh, for
too.
sure.
He grew up Egyptian.
The
but
Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments came directly from the Egyptian spiritual
change
system.
what his system. He turned around and
No,
tried
no.
to. Yeah.
They plagiarized the spiritual system of the time. Jesus brought nothing new. He reintroduced what the ancestors already been giving us. Moses brought
Oh,
nothing
absolutely. He came to
Because
give
remember, none of-
understanding where we didn't understand.
Because remember, none of them
Because
were-
we had the scriptures, but no one was
new.
understanding
But remember,
the
at the
scriptures.
time they lived, especially Christ, he was not a quote unquote celebrity. Jesus became big after the so-called
He wasn't.
crucifixion.
There wasn't
No.
whole towns.
Very few people
whole
knew him.
towns of people waiting
Very
for
few
him.
people knew Christ. No, that was propaganda through the
So
Bible.
that's just all right. Yeah.
Very few people knew Jesus.
And we're gonna agree to disagree.
No,
on
we
that
good.
point?
No, this is
Because
good.
I got
No,
we
one
good. Yeah,
more
no, go
question.
ahead.
All I was saying was, once he found out that the black man came from the Congo and
I
that
don't
the
know how
Tigris
I'ma find that out,
Euphrates
though.
River,
We gonna go.
Go to Congo, it's right there,
We're
bro.
gonna go with you.
And you
know?
can go to the
But ain't
Egyptian
piece-
music, the
no,
Ethiopian
paper,
music.
No paper is gonna.
But
it's
your
not
Bible
gonna
is
be
paper. See the
something
double
that I'm
standard?
gonna read
It's okay for
that-
the Bible to be paper and don't have no proof. But I gotta pull out rocks, boats.
I guess so. yeah. Before you expect me to go against mine.
But
Oh, when is the trip? When is the journey home?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
No, but on a
I
serious
was-
note, we
For sure.
definitely
I was
need
in
that.
Cameroon this past September at the Bimbia slave fort. And Cameroon is Congo's neighbor. So there's a sister who's a travel agent. I'm communicating with her right now to try to put this package together. She was going to do Cameroon. I'm going to tell her I need Congo in there. Because in speaking with the brothers and sisters from the Congo in Cameroon, they were saying there's some sites that you need to see
Okay.
that the world don't know nothing about. He said, we got some stuff that's going to make you. They told me they have art in the Congo that will rival Kemet. And they got art in the Congo that will rival the 7 wonders of the world. They said we could, but the white man don't show it because, let me ask you a question. Why do you think the world has hidden the fact that man originated in the Congo, not even Ethiopia, but the Congo?
I don't know.
Same reason they hidden the true ethnicity of Christ.
Why?
Because that means we are directly connected to divinity and all
And,
things. of
and we're
civilization.
African, exactly. The Congo is undisputedly a blue, black, purple, nappy-headed people. Do you feel me? So anything you find there, you know this African. You can play with it in Ethiopia and say, what an Arab incursion. You feel
Which
me? You
they
can play
do in
with
Egypt.
They a little lighter. How do we know these were black people? In the Congo, it's no discussion. You know you're dealing with black people. And because of that, they have hidden the fact that man originated in
Let me
the
ask you.
Congo.
So the Congo, how do we know again where the Garden is Eden at? So, because you said because of
You
the
got the
rivers, the
artifacts.
rivers.
You got to remember,
what
people
make
been
it-
excavating, archaeologists been excavating for thousands of years. You see what I'm saying? All of the oldest known human fossils in the world.
So you think,
Or
but
in Africa.
the Garden of Eden is something that, according to Scripture, that no man is never going to be able to
If
find.
there was a Garden of Eden, if
It's
there
protected
was,
by
Right. It
angels,
would be.
cherubs.
if there was, it had to be in Africa because
Yeah,
all original
I agree
human
with that,
fossils.
'cause that's
Right,
what-
but the Bible, or should I say the historiography around the Bible, because I don't know if the Bible says this flat out, that the Garden of Eden was in the Tigris Euphrates River Valley. That's the Middle East. That ain't Africa. You could say that's Africa's northwest extension. But what we're saying is God put man in the heart. In the very center of the continent
But
is where God put
wait.
man, not over there with the
Let me
Arabs.
ask you a question. So this is what makes sense, though. If man was kicked out the garden and he was cast out the garden, where would he been cast out to?
So you saying, okay, man originated in Congo, he got cast out to
No,
Western
I'm
Asia.
saying that man originated exactly where the scriptures were said.
Tigris
in
Euphrates?
the Garden of Eden. And you won't find no bones in the Garden of Eden because you ain't going to find the Garden of Eden. Because
so now
according
you're
to
trying
scripture,
to justify.
no, I'm just breaking something down, bro. According to scripture, we were put out of the Garden of Eden, never allowed to return. So if you were put out the Garden of Eden, at that point you went off into land. We already know that Cain, after Cain killed Abel, Cain went had to get banished from his family and everyone else, and he went a certain way. So I would have to now study all of that and see, oh, the bones he talking about, the bones of Cain and his people in the Congo. That would make sense.
But see,
you see what I'm saying?
The challenge I would have to your narrative is you're working backwards. And what I mean to say is, instead of challenging or exploring the possibility that some of what you believe may not be factual, you would rather distort the evidence so that it conforms to your religious beliefs.
No, I will challenge the evidence to see that it
But what about,
dismisses
but if we have the
my
evidence,
beliefs.
Okay,
And when
okay.
you say religious to me, that's why I asked you earlier, so just be clear, it's just a way of life. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with
So the way you say it is more of a negative way. So if you're saying religious meaning my way of life, sure, bro. You have a way of life too. He have a way of life, and everyone in here.
Right.
We all have a religion.
I got
So to say it to me in a negative, way is not cool. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, we all have a religion.
Got you. Here's the thing, from the revolutionary Pan-Africanist perspective. Any institution, and religion is an institution, any institution that does not fight or prioritize the real life, obvious, measurable, tangible problems of African people is an instrument of oppression and should be discarded. And that means that if you turn your spiritual system into a weapon of Black liberation, I'm cool with it. If we're not going to do that, and we're going to keep on pushing this colorblind, I love everybody, I'm not going to prioritize my own people, then your religion is an instrument of white supremacy.
And this is what I would say to that, and with all respect, and I want you to hear this. You work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Anything that you do is going to be by example. So if you want to be correct, correct yourself. Before you look to take the plaque out someone else's eye, you got to take the ship out your own eye.
Right. But
you
you're
know what I'm saying?
I'm not against that. That makes sense. But you're dealing in individualism. The world operates in systems, group systems. White people operate as a culture. Chinese operate as a culture. Our solution cannot be individualist. What are we going to do as a people? People.
But the people is one person.
Okay, the people together make a person.
Yes, the people is one.
So what are we going to do as a people?
And it's not. It's what you're going to do for yourself.
You can't, if you're going to individualize the struggle, it's useless.
All right, so check this.
We have to unify.
No, I just want to give you a different way to think.
What about unity? Black unity, where does that come in at?
I just want you to get a different way of thinking. The world, do you see the world as a bad place?
No.
Oh, that's good. You know why you don't see the world as a bad place?
Why?
Because somewhere inside you don't see yourself as a bad place.
Okay, but that's different.
It's not.
Yes, it is, because you're not acknowledging the fact.
You have to. If
that
you
there
want,
are concrete problems.
In order to make outside change,
what about the concrete?
You got to make inner change.
What that got to do with miseducation of Black children by white people? What that got to do with police genocide of Blacks by whites? What that got to do with the gentrification and homelessness crisis we're dealing with right now? When is y'all as religious people going to lend yourself to the everyday problems of the Black community?
The everyday problems of the Black community is sin.
It's not just sin.
Yes,
we're being sinned against.
One
question.
Go ahead. For the brother.
Yes.
With all of this technology, social media,
yes, ma'am.
Will the revolution be televised? No, why you think I...
Yeah, that's why I stopped. I know the brother got to go. And
I was trying since 5:43. Will the revolution be televised?
Not if it's going to be successful. It can be televised in the beginning in order to garner the energy and the support and the unity, but strategy has to be confidential. Strategy has to be confidential. And to your point, If we think we're going to organize black people through social media, we're going to lose for two reasons. We don't like each other. If I want you to come to a meeting, I got to get up in your face. I got to see you when you're coming home from work. I got to see you at the supermarket. I got to see you when you taking your sons out to dinner. You want to feel me first before you buy into me. You can't feel me on social media. Not the way you could feel me in person. One thing I respect about the Jehovah's Witnesses, have they changed the way they recruit?
They have not. It's still door to door.
Do you feel me? Are they on Facebook doing it? Are they on Instagram or TikTok? Jehovah's Witnesses are still knocking on doors because they know that's the best way to get people. We so lazy that we want to get them through the internet. I know people who will complain because they'll put the flyer on the internet. Nobody came to my meeting. Why should they? You put no effort into getting them. Why should they put any effort to coming into you? You understand me? So social media is not the way to organize. It's okay to publicize. It ain't the way to organize. Any other problem? Do you know that they cleaning out and shutting down all accounts owned by activists and radicals? Do you feel me? People are being kicked off of Twitter, kicked off of Facebook. I can't use my Facebook right now. I ain't been able to use it for months. They didn't even tell me they shut me down. I'm shut down from Facebook. My Twitter, they systematically reducing all my followers. Instagram, they removing followers. Instagram, I get suspended like 6 times a year. They don't let me post the videos. They are not going to let us benefit our struggle from their platforms. You're out of your mind if you think you're using those white platforms to benefit black folks. Everybody I know is under some form of containment on their social media platforms. So no, it will not be televised unless we own the platforms ourselves. It will not be televised.
Gotta say that 3 times.
Go ahead. You got one more. Give me one more. Go ahead.
What are some of the ingredients we need to equip our young brothers with so they can be providers and leaders and protectors of our families?
Before we do that, we have to address the elephant in the African community. And that is the unaddressed trauma of not only our young people, but our adults. Underneath all this black male-female relationship conflict, it's unaddressed trauma. Most relationship problems are not relationship problems. They are individual issues that the two people brought into the relationship.
And they meet.
Yes, sometimes it's not about couples counseling. You know, but sometimes I tell them, y'all don't need couples counseling. This ain't a relationship problem. You got issues with your father. You need individual counseling to deal with your father's abandonment. You got issues with your mother. You need individual relationship counseling to deal with the maternal abuse that you separated from, that you had to deal with. And then once y'all get some closure, then we come back and do some couples counseling. How are you going to treat a couple when the individuals ain't been treated themselves? We got trauma on top of trauma in the black community. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why it doesn't get addressed. Because number one, we've bought into the hypnosis of white capitalism. You know what that is? White capitalism has convinced us to believe that the way you solve your problems, the way you improve your happiness, the way you build peace of mind is to do what?
Shop.
Shop. Are you with me, Queen?
Shop.
Are you with me?
Shop.
And guess what? With all the religion we got, we bought it. Black people who go to church Sunday, who go to the mosque Friday, who go to the temple Saturday, who go to the Kingdom Hall Friday. What they doing right now while we sitting here talking? Shopping. Because the white man has convinced the black man the way you improve your life is not through organizing against racism. It's not through organizing with your people. It's about buying expensive junk that I sell. Get that Benz, you'll feel better. Get that Balenciaga bag, you'll feel better. Get those Jordans, you'll feel better. And guess what? In the moment, you do. Because there's a shopper's mania that accompanies you spending money. You know when you buy something, your mind releases dopamine. You feel good while you shopping. And because you don't want that feeling to go, you spend up all your damn money until you get home. And right after you just went through shopper's mania, you go through buyer's remorse. I already had these shoes. Why did I buy them again? My son didn't even need that video game unit. I bought it last year, didn't even realize it. How did I not remember I already had these shoes? Because you was under a shopper's mania. Until black people undo the hypnosis of American capitalism, we never going to address the trauma. We covering it up. You're not buying because you need or want them things. You know why you bought that? Because you wanted the feeling the commercial said you would get from having it. They selling you happiness. They not selling the Benz. They not selling the gold chain. They not selling the Timbs or the Jordans. They're selling the positive emotion that comes with it. That's number one. And the other problem why we ain't going to address this, I'm going to pick up my man Bigga just a hot minute. We have nowhere in the black community, and you would probably agree with this, we have nowhere in the black community where we can go and talk about our pain and our problems without somebody trying to force their doctrine down our throat. Do you feel me? Think about it. If I was a sexual abuse victim, thank God I wasn't. My father whipped my ass. But guess what? When I became a psychologist and saw all the sexual abuse that goes in our community, I'll take that man's ass whippings every day. You feel me? I'll take his ass whippings every day of the week to the sexual abuse I see these kids go through. So anyway, you feel me? So getting back to my point, when I talk to these young people, you know what they tell me, Dr. Umar, there's nowhere I can go to just sit down and have a conversation about my life and my problems. If I go to the church, they want to feed me Jesus. If I go to the mosque, they want to feed me Muhammad. I go to the Hebrews, they want to feed me Moses. I go to the Jehovah's Witness Hall, they want to give me their thing. Our people need a safe space where religious indoctrination is not on the table, where they can just process and talk about life. Think about it. If a black woman ain't got no friends and she need to go somewhere to process her pain, name an organization she can go to in the black community to do that, where she's not going to be forced to accept doctrine in order to get delivered from her emotion.
Safe Horizons, there's a few.
Well, you're talking about the mental health company.
Yes, the mental health, yes.
Separate from that, because they're parasitic too.
Yes, they are.
Because I'm in mental health. You know what they want?
Generated by
Absolutely.
Fundraising.
They want that diagnosis in a prescription.
So they could build a
So
medication.
exactly. You went there looking for some help. You got a diagnosis and some damn drugs.
And might get your kids taken.
And so guess what? You went to eliminate a problem. You picked up two more.
Yes.
So again, where can you go as a black woman? Nowhere.
You don't have any.
We ain't got nowhere to go.
You don't have no outlet.
And one of the reasons why I'm building Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey is I want that to be that place. Even though I practice Yoruba culture, I'm not pushing that on nobody. Because see, one of the difference between African spiritual systems and the major world religions, they recruit. We don't. You feel me? I will never come to you with African spirituality. You would have to call me up and say, Dr. Umar, I had this dream last night. And my grandmom came to me and da-da-da-da. You feel me? And then I'm saying, you know what, brother? It might be time for you to get initiated. It might be time for you to get a spiritual reading. Your ancestors are trying to communicate with you. You might not be on your life destiny. These are the people. But you're going to come to me. And then I'm going to tell you what you got to do. You never see us out on these streets proselytizing, telling people you better get saved. We don't do that because in African culture, you get called back. You get called back. You see what I'm saying? But getting back to the point, we need places to heal. Take the black consciousness community. We just like the religious community. People cover up their trauma with religion all day long. You feel? I know people, they Christ out, ain't never dealt with their fatherlessness, ain't never dealt with the sex abuse, you feel me? Ain't never dealt with the neglect of their grandparents. They know the Bible, they can quote it, they can do, they know the Quran, you feel me? But guess what? They soul still not delivered because they never dealt with their internal trauma. You feel what I'm saying? We do the same thing in black consciousness. Oh, I'm a Hebrew. I'm Nation of Islam. I'm a Marcus Garvey Pan-Africanist. I'm a socialist. I'm a Nawapian. I'm a God on earth. But guess what? You smoking yourself to sleep at night. You drinking yourself on the weekends. You see what I'm saying? Stop. If there's one message I want to give black folks from a psychological angle, religion will not erase trauma. Black consciousness will not erase trauma. If you want to get back to happiness, wholeness, and peace of mind, you know what you got to do? You got to face the demons of your past. All of them. The abuse, the neglect, the low self-esteem, the fact that you was a foster kid, the fact that your dad abandoned you, the fact that you was too dark for your grandparents or too light for your cousins. You got to deal with it all. Because until you face the devil, I'm speaking metaphorically and psychologically, until you face your inner demons, all those childhood issues that you never address, you'll never get to heaven. I'm talking about heaven on earth, not after you die. There's a heaven on earth that we can reach. But guess what? The devil is standing in front of the door to heaven. And the devil metaphorically symbolizes all your inner demons that you don't want to address. Why are you overeating? I'm obese. I need to work out. Are you really obese because you don't work out? Or are you eating yourself to death because you don't want to address these issues that you got, that guilt, that abandonment, that shame, that pain, that abuse? You see, when Michelle Obama had that obesity campaign, I called it out. I said, Michelle Obama, she only addressed obesity from a diet and a health perspective.
Correct.
Most black obese people ain't obese because they in love with beef ribs and cheesesteaks.
Right.
They eat themselves out of their pain because while you are drinking and eating, your brain cannot develop the feeling of anxiety. You don't feel depressed when you're eating. You don't feel anxious when you're eating because eating arrests that process in the brain. Why do you think people love to go down and eat before they talk about their problems? Or if we're about to sign a business deal, what I'm gonna say, let me take you to lunch. Because guess what? You're more likely to sign it while you're eating because you're in a peaceful, joyful state.
And we have to, that comes from infancy.
Yes.
Who's a happier baby
Yes.
than a full
Yeah.
baby?
Take a baby. While they on the breast, they
Yes.
get milk. That eating of the drinking of the milk facilitates the bond with the mother.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. But my thing with the black community from a psychological standpoint, education is my thing, right? So I'm going to build this school. We want to build more schools. And I had Brother Bigga come and talk about his Christianity. No, because
He'll be
even
there.
though
It's Christ-like.
we're Christ-like, but here's the thing. Well, Christ speaks through charis, which is an Ethiopian word that talks to the spirit that rises within. So technically, we are all a Christ waiting
yes.
to be born.
Yes, we are.
Jesus was only
Yes.
one.
We are.
We are all
Yes.
to reach that state.
Yes.
So we have to be
Now
careful.
you're talking different.
No.
If you would have talked that from the beginning, I would have already broke that down to you.
Well, Harry,
that
tell me, say, we are.
I would have already broke that
Wait,
down to
hold
you
on.
that we are the church and the church is the body of Christ and that we are all one. I would have already broke that down,
But
bro.
I want to say this. In
Peace,
humility,
bro.
in humility, and we have to admit this and we have to never do this again. Thank God there were no young people in this room when we went back and forth. Because you know what they would have said? You Christians are full of shit. You Pan-Africanists are full of shit. Y'all supposed to be an alternative to the gangster life. Y'all supposed to be an alternative to the gangster rap. Y'all fighting amongst each other just like the niggas doing on the street. We out. We can't afford to ever do that again.
And
do you see what I'm saying?
But
because it feeds.
Man is always going to have disagreement. That's going to come.
I understand
be fake
that.
with it.
But
we
in
gotta
front
show
of the
them,
children,
Yeah.
they need to see a united front. Because we
Absolutely.
are at war for our young
all right,
people.
so this is what they need to see. They need to see that we could disagree. We could maybe get to that flare, but at the end of it, we have came back to a common ground
I agree with that.
of peace.
I
And
agree with
believe
that.
me,
But even
respect,
beyond that,
they respect
they
that
need to know
fully.
I agree.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
Even
They don't
beyond
like that fake stuff.
Even beyond that, we need to have some shared principles or goals that we can share with them. Because at the end of the day, work got to be done to
I think we did.
Right, maybe. But even if we didn't, we got to have that.
No, I
because
think we
when they
did.
come, we got to give them something to do.
I think
if
we
we
did.
don't give them something to do, they going back to the corner. Because guess what? They always got something for them to do in the corner. You notice that?
Yeah.
You will never see a youth go to the corner and not have something to do. It might be robbing, it might be stealing, it might be
looking
selling,
out.
it might be looking out, but you're going to find something to do. But the last point I wanted to make is this, educationally. My goal for the rest of my life is to build these schools I'm building in Wilmington, Delaware, right? That's my goal, educate. Psychologically, heal trauma for blacks. Because the fact that we are not healing our trauma is the single greatest barrier to us achieving something that we both agree on, and that is God consciousness. That Christ state, you don't get there if you don't rectify the internal demons.
Yes.
And we need everybody to understand that religion doesn't heal it. Black consciousness doesn't heal it. African culture by itself doesn't heal it, except spiritual culture in that you got to face your demons. You know why people come to therapy? Because they ain't got the strength or the resolve to face their demons by themselves. They need somebody to guide them through it. In therapy, all I do is guide you. I'm not your solution. You're going to fix your own problems. But I got to take you back into that place where you're safe enough to talk about that trauma and abuse, because you might have to re-experience it
To
so
heal
you can
it.
assign it another meaning in your life.
Absolutely.
We have to address trauma because guess what? Whether it's gangster rap, whether it's the male-female relationship crisis, What other issues we got? Black women on black women problems, brothers with our ego, like what we just went through. All of that has an element of trauma in it. Black people must address their trauma, but because we hate the pain, you know that feeling that comes from when you recall a painful thing in your life, that emotion come back. You hate that shit. You feel me? So what do? You suppress it. I need to smoke. You got a cigarette on you. You ready to roll some weed? Let me get a shit. You see what I'm saying? You try to kill it. Don't kill it. Stay with that damn pain until you change it. Spiritual alchemy. Spiritual alchemy. Take the negative you've been through, reassign it another meaning so it becomes a positive.
Absolutely.
We said something that was the same, and I just don't want to get that off.
Yes, sir.
What you said is interesting, and I'm actually going to go look it up. What did you say about Christ earlier?
Harass. The word Christ comes from an Egyptian word harass, which means the spirit within that rises. So,
keep going.
So,
and you said something else, and you said how we are all Christ.
Yes, we all Christ, but we have to face our internal contradictions, demons, unaddressed childhood issues, traumas.
Now you see how everything, you see, now, you see,
ain't got nothing to do with the Bible.
It has everything to do with the Bible. Now,
Honey,
this is what, let me finish. I want to break this down because he doesn't even understand something, and I know you guys do. The scriptures teaches us that the only person that has been empowered to defeat the demons is Christ.
I disagree.
And
unless you're talking about the
finish,
individual
bro.
Christ. When you say Christ,
are you
talking about the Christ of the Bible or the Christ in you?
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. How can you get to the Christ in you until you rise to that level? Christ says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus.
Okay.
So that already lets you know that it is on you to raise your mental to a Christ level.
But see,
and
now
the
you're dealing with the Christ
have
concept
already
versus
told
the Christ
you
personality.
What do you mean?
The historical Christ as a being is one thing. The Christ within me, that aspect of God that was born into me when I came into this world, that's different. You understand me? That's the personal Christ.
No, so all right. So you think
you
that
can't have it both ways.
No.
Can I build the personal Christ without? No, I'm asking you a question. Can I build my personal Christ without tapping into the Christ of the Bible? Yes or no?
No.
That's where we disagree.
Yeah,
because that's the doctrine.
The Christ,
see, that's the doctrine.
The Christ of the Bible is your recipe in order how to get to that.
But what if I told you there was recipes older than that? What if I told you that with an African tradition, we also have a way of resurrecting Christ within
I would
us
know that
does not require
says,
belief of the scripture, though.
But the scripture says that it's deities and all type of stuff
right,
that is older than the idea of Christ. Yes, but that don't mean it was correct. Baal is older than the idea of Christ. But we already know Africans believed in Baal, Ra, and all that other stuff. But
everything in the Bible came out of African culture.
You know,
everything in the Bible came out of African culture.
If anything, those are in order.
But you're rejecting,
we understand it's like fallen angels.
Okay, let me put this another way. Will you accept the possibility that there are ways to Christ consciousness that does not require belief in Jesus Christ of the Bible?
Jesus Christ of the Bible that died on the cross for our sins?
Yes.
No, I can't.
And that's where we disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good.
But see, that's where religion has its limitations. Yeah. Because y'all believe.
I just think you don't understand it.
I
think you just don't understand it.
No.
Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins, letting you know what you had to do. You have to die on the cross.
No, I understand it.
You just said it. You are the Christ. So that is just an example of what you have to do. You have to deal with your sins, your demons on the Christ level. And that Christ level is
listen
what?
to me. Listen to me.
It tells you, the Bible gives it to you.
I'm not dismissing that. I believe that is a pathway to Christ consciousness by following the example of Jesus of the Bible. I believe
but you feel there's other ways.
I know there's other ways. That's all we're saying. See, the African spiritual, we don't dismiss religions. We say if the Islamic way suits you, walk that path. If the Christian way suits you, walk that path. If the Catholic way suits, if the Buddhist way suits you, walk that path. If the Christian way suits you, walk that path. We're simply saying there's other ways that are older, and through which way more people have walked and activated their Christ consciousness, because African spirituality is remotely older than Christianity. Like, you can't even compare them in terms of time on the planet. It's no comparison. So all we're saying is there's other ways than that one. Even in the Bible, it says what?
You
In
keep
my
saying
Father's house,
Christianity, but okay.
in my Father's house, there are many mansions. There's many roads to God. Let people choose their own.
It's only one road.
And that's the doctrine. That's what we call doctrine and dogma. And that's what keeps so many black folks from embracing the church, because it's a very narrow-minded thing.
Well, I'm going to change that.
No, but stay with me. It's a very
I'm
narrow-minded
going to
thing.
change that.
When a 2,000-year-old religion
Bigga's going to change
tell
that.
a 250,000-year-old people
You'll see.
that you got to do it my way or the highway.
Bigga going to change.
It don't even make no
Bigga's
sense.
going to change that. Bigga about to change the world.
But here's what I want to say.
And I'm going to introduce to the world what they need to understand in the scriptures, the way
From
they
your
need to
view,
understand.
though.
No, not from my view.
No, it's from your
No,
view. It's
not my
still
view.
your
The
bias.
scriptures.
Right, but that's one scripture. That's not the only scripture that exists, and it's not even an ancient one. The Bible is one of the most modern of religious texts.
Why do you say that?
The Bible only 2,000 years old.
Why do you say that?
What do you mean? Why do I say that?
So
the Bible is 2,000
You're
years old.
saying the Dead Sea Scrolls and all of that stuff is only 2,000 years old, or did they find the Dead Sea Scroll maybe 2,000 years old?
But even if you do,
Jesus
even
was
if you-
alive and Jesus was talking about the scriptures. Jesus
was only 2,000
old.
years ago.
Exactly, and he was dealing with the scriptures. So how could it be 2,000 years?
Jesus was dealing with ancient Kemetic spiritual science. That's
and
what
he was dealing with scriptures.
Ancient
the
Kemetic,
scriptures.
yeah, the scriptures of ancient Kemet, not your Bible.
Well, how not? Yes,
What are you
it
talking
was.
about? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That
I'm
stuff
not
don't even get
talking about that. I'm talking about Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers,
Are you aware that the
Deuteronomy.
5 books of the Old Testament were not written in that order?
And it
Nor
don't
were they
have to
written
be
at the
that
time
order.
ascribed to-
It don't have to be the order.
That ain't the point.
That they exist. That those scriptures exist. Did Jesus deal with those
No,
scriptures?
there's a time when them scriptures did not exist.
Did Jesus
There's
deal
a
with
time.
those scriptures? Did he not
Okay.
deal with the scriptures?
All the scriptures that you're referring to, because remember, there's multiple
I'm not
scriptures.
talking about the New Testament.
No.
That
Stay
you
with
would
me.
be considered.
There's multiple
Yeah.
scriptures, not just Christian, not just Old Testament, not just Hebrew scripture, right?
Yes.
You're dealing with the Hebrew faith.
Hebrew scripture.
The Abrahamic
and he was
path.
a Hebrew.
Yes. But do you realize the Hebrews have not always been around?
Of course.
Is not Abraham the father of the Hebrews?
Yes, of course. They
Okay.
haven't always
And
been
do you
around.
realize that
And
African civilizations
do you
went up and
realize
went down
in
before
according
Abraham
to the
was born?
Bible that before them a lot of people was in sin? Again, you had the Canaanites. You had Cain who killed
You're
his brother
trying to
Abel.
say
everybody
before Abraham was a
wasn't-
sinner.
All right, so this is what we all sinners.
The whole world was
Everybody
sinning
is
before
sinners.
Abraham.
Everybody is a sinner.
Bless you,
Everybody,
Queen.
I'm sorry.
everybody is a sinner. Everyone. No, we have all fell short of the glory of God. All
Listen
of
to
us,
me.
every single
My
person.
issue is not
if
your
you
religion.
say that you are not a sinner, the Bible,
Stay
not
with me, stay with me,
says
stay
you're
with
a
me.
liar.
My issue
And the
is,
truth is
stay with
not
me,
in
Bigga.
you.
My issue is not your religion. You know what my issue is? You will not entertain the possibility that there's a way to Christ consciousness without your particular scripture.
No, that's not true.
You just said you got to go through the Bible.
No, I'm saying you don't understand that it's actually whatever you break
But you
down
just
to
said
me.
if you don't go through, I asked you. I said, do
No,
I have to go
what
through
you
Jesus
just broke
Christ?
down to
You
me,
said yes.
Yes, and I showed you how it was matched up actually to what you're saying.
No, it's not messed up.
You just don't
Because
see
the
it, bro.
the
you just
Bible,
said that we are all
the
Christ.
Jesus of the Bible.
And you said that we had to fight our demons and go through our
When I
demons to
say
get to the Christ consciousness.
Christ consciousness.
Exactly.
Completely
Christ consciousness has nothing to do. See, where you getting
No,
confused with the
religions have
physical
Christ
man.
No, listen
the
to me.
physical man had Christ consciousness.
Brothers,
There's a Christ
Brothers,
consciousness that
brothers.
predates Jesus.
brothers.
There's a Christ
Yes,
consciousness that
the
predates
Old
Jesus.
Testament
I'm
said
not
that
talking about the Old
they
Hit them
followed
older than the
microphones.
old
the
I gotta
cloud
eat.
in the sky,
don't
which
know
was
about
The
that.
Old
Christ.
Testament
I gotta
isn't
eat.
old, first of all.
So
the Old
Moses,
Testament isn't old.
is it old?
African culture predates Moses by millennium.
I don't know about
The
that.
Hebrews are not
I don't
they're
know
not
about that.
as ancient
So you
as the
so you
Kemites.
believe in more than a 6,000-year-old planet and stuff.
Oh
right?
my
You know
God.
what
Did
the
he just say,
Kemites-
wait, time out. Wait, I gotta ask him this, Queen. Wait,
Oh,
wait.
gosh,
Yeah.
no.
Did you just say you believe?
I didn't say what I believe.
Okay, you know.
I asked you. I said you believe.
Okay, I'm asking
in
you, I need
more
clarity.
than civilization.
I need clarity,
Human
Bigga.
civilization.
Bigga,
more
I
than
got a
6,000
question.
years.
Are you telling me you still believe in that religious concept.
Show me.
Wait, let
anything-
me ask the
show
question
me
and you
man
answer.
That was older than 6,000 years, or anything that was made over 6,000
I
years.
can show you pyramids in Kemet older than 5,000 years. Bigger,
Nah,
you don't
you
stop.
can't.
I can show you temples
can't.
older than
You can't.
6,000.
Show it to
Are
me.
you crazy?
Show it to me.
Have
That's
you
why
ever
we
been to
going to
Kemet?
Show it
Africa.
to me, bro. I've looked all
Have
those
you ever seen the
pyramids up.
Sphinx?
I know when those.
Have you ever seen the Sphinx?
Yes.
The Sphinx
It
is older
tells
than
you the dates. It's not.
the Sphinx is older than. Oh
The
my.
Sphinx is older than 6,000 years.
Yes!
No, it's not, bro.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not,
Are
bro.
you kidding, brother? I just told you.
It's not.
The African is 250,000 years.
That's not
Brother,
true. That's not true.
you reducing us to 6,000?
That's not true.
Let me
And
tell
even
you,
if
do you
it-
know
all
why
right.
you're doing that?
So let me tell you
Do
something.
you know why you're doing that?
Even if
Because
you,
that would make the Hebrews relevant
even
from
if
an
you,
ancient historical
even if-
perspective. Ain't no Hebrews before 6,000.
That's why they limit humanity to 6,000. Brother, there's artifacts that's older than 6,000 years old in Africa.
I gotta see that, and I will have to see what evidence that shows me.
Have you ever
that
heard
it's
of
older than
Danganesh?
6,000 years.
Have you ever heard
No.
of Danganesh? That's the African woman that they excavated in Egypt.
Yeah, I heard of that.
She's in the museum.
You get
in
talking
the
about
Ethiopian
fossil
museum.
fuels again, right?
Fossil fuel. No, we're talking about a skeleton of a
Fossil
human being.
fuels. That's how they're able to tell how
you know
old
how old
the
she is?
skeleton is.
Do you
Through
know how
fossil
old she
fuels.
is? Wait.
Nobody knows.
Dude, what? Bigger
Nobody
said
knows.
there's no civilization before
Nobody
6,000 years.
knows.
Bigger, guess how old the bones of Lucy is?
Because you're dealing with it through
Bigger,
fossil
guess
fuels.
how
Where did
old-
you learn about fossil fuels?
We ain't talking about fossil fuel. That's gas
How
and
do
oil.
you
I'm talking
know?
about a bigger.
Brothers.
Queen,
No, I
listen,
just
Queen,
wanna
I gotta
know,
say
how
this,
do you
Queen.
know how old
Queen,
they are?
He
Queen,
said it.
Queen,
Answer.
Queen.
How do you
The
know how
bone-
old
listen,
it is?
You're a black woman, so I want you to hear this because you're a
How
black
do you
woman.
know how old the bones
This
is?
is the oldest, most complete fossil
Lucy.
of a modern black woman.
I'm
Her
aware.
Ethiopian name is Danganesh.
Yes.
White
And
men
how
call
do
her
you determine
Lucy.
how many
Guess how
years?
old her skeleton is, young brother?
How do you determine that?
2,000,000 years
How do you
old. And
determine
he
that?
just said civilization doesn't go beyond 6,000.
Yeah. How do you determine that she's
Brother,
2
come
million
on.
years old?
That is complete.
How do you determine
that's complete.
that she is that 2 million years old?
Okay.
Through fossil fuels, through something
No,
that
not
you
through
just
fossil fuels.
Tell
Not
me.
through-
I'm
okay.
actually, I'm still trying to figure it out.
I want you to do
Is
your
it a certain line on the bone that we could count that, each year it grew that?
It's
What
all of
evidence
that.
are you going to show
This all you got
me?
to do. This all you got to do.
And then where
This
did
all
you
you got to
learn
do.
that evidence from?
It's in the museum, first of all.
Museum of who? Who put that information
Brother,
there?
it's the
Still, you can't tell
Let
me
me
to
finish,
use the
let me
white
finish, let
man
me finish.
education is something that you done sat here on the platform
This
and
is African. This
screamed
African
it out,
science.
all that.
This
all-
African science. I'm
and-
not a white man. What you talking about?
So African science is saying that this body is older than how long? And where did they get that from? How did they determine that?
Brother, it's clear to me. You're going to dismiss any factual information
Yeah, I guess so.
that
bro.
does not coincide.
That's not
with
factual.
your six.
That's
so
not
you
factual.
literally believe.
Because you would know nothing.
You literally believe
the only
there's
thing
no
factual.
Wait a minute. You literally believe there's no human civilization beyond 6,000 years?
I believe that if God made man before Adam and Eve 6,000 years ago, that wasn't a part of this. That was not a part of this world. That was a
I just told you
that
in
was
the
a world-
Congo.
Again, let me finish. You asking me an
Go
important
ahead, go.
question. That was a world of old that he had already killed off. So when we start off in the Bible, that the making of Adam and Eve is the first man and woman, and that's 6,000 years.
Hey, can we stop?
That's
there?
already
You
been
know
proven false.
With
No,
Adam,
I don't think so.
You got-
Eve,
bro.
Kemet,
All right.
Marcus Garvey.
You got the
we'll go back and
Congolese.
forth with that
You
on
got
that,
the
yeah.
you got the Congolese
Yes.
artifacts
They
older
ate.
than 6,000.
I
Lucy
mean,
is 2
I got-
million.
that gotta be
Congolese
proven.
6,
That
8,
gotta be
10 million.
proven, bro.
You got
Lucy
South
is too.
African fossils
Gotta be
over 8
proven.
million. Every ancient fossil of a modern human they found in Africa is in the millions. He just
What was
said
they
6,000
doing?
years
What was they
old.
doing before
Do
6,000
y'all
years?
understand what this man is saying?
Yeah, don't.
He's dismissing the
Everything
African
that
origin
we
of
know as a
civilization.
people was made within 6,000 years. That's what I'm trying to explain.
The pyramids
How
are
old-
older than
no,
that.
it's not.
The Sphinx is older than that. What are you
not.
talking
The
about?
Sphinx is not older than that, bro.
What?
Yeah, it's not older than 6,000 years.
And guess what? Egypt is
You
one
can
of the
look it right
youngest.
up. We could Google
We can
right
go to
now how old
Ethiopia.
the Sphinx is,
Ethiopia
bro.
has pyramids and castles
Yeah,
older
bro.
than 6,000 years old.
And you know what they all did? They ate. And in
Hold
the
on, hold on,
great
hold on.
words of Harriet Tubman, Mother Harriet, 1849, we are out.
Oh my God!
And
You
these
just
brothers are gonna keep going.
no,
I
no, no,
just
no.
want
I got
y'all
to
know
drive
that.
back to Philly.
We
But
could
he
go
just
there.
dismissed. He just dismissed the entire ancient world of Africa, Ugandan civilization, Kenyan civilization, Ethiopian civilization, Somali civilization, Congolese civilization. 6,000 years is nothing when you're dealing with African civilization. Lucy, 2 million. How you going to say 6,000?
I can't agree with
Can I
that.
ask you a question real quick?
Go ahead.
You
What
mentioned-
the? What?
you
Science has already refuted that. And you
And,
won't give it up.
and you think I believe in science over, you know?
Science over the Bible?
Yeah,
The
you
Bible
think
ain't scientific.
Nah, you think I would never believe in the
The
science
Bible
over
ain't
the scripture.
scientific.
I'm sorry. Mhm.
You mentioned earlier that we should all learn to develop a strength in dealing with the situations that from our past.
Yes.
And so,
Read what that say.
My glasses.
Read what that say.
hold on.
How old is the Sphinx?
No, hold on a second.
No. But come on, bro. How old is that say? The Sphinx that he's talking about. How old does it say?
Sphinx is
The age, bro, is right there. You must be, because you hit something. Right there, bro.
Oh, there we go. Approximately 4,500 years old.
How old is it say?
4,500.
Now, I'm not going to call this man a liar how he did me. How old is it say? All right.
Let me respond to
We
him.
can end everything.
Can I respond to that?
Bro,
Can I respond to
it's
that?
all great.
Can I respond to that? I'm willing to bet you that's a white man's estimation. And let me tell you why it is a white man's estimation. Because white folks don't want to admit how old ancient Kemet is.
Yeah, I know.
You know why? Because they're not an ancient people. So the older you prove African people are, the more irrelevant you prove white people are.
I got you.
Now, guess what? You just gave me the white man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got one right here. 12,000 years old.
Yeah, I'm
I got
sure
another
we'll
one right
find
here.
something.
25,000
But where did that come
years
from?
old.
Where did that come from? You see what I'm saying? It's open for debate. You want to
no,
sit
no,
here
no,
and
no.
scream
You can-
like,
no,
I
you can
couldn't just do what I just did, bro. And what I just did clearly is with the whole world thing right there.
No.
It said
You're on
4,500
Wikipedia.
things.
No.
Doesn't matter.
Brother, I can show you that.
It doesn't matter what that lets you know. It's a debate.
It's not a debate.
It's a debate, bro.
Okay, listen. You can debate the age of this. We can debate the age of this. I agree with you that you can individually debate the age of something, right? What you're not going to debate is the fact that African civilization is older than 6,000 years old.
Every site you go to
can't
says
debate the fact
4,500
that we
years
have
old.
we have the remains of a modern black woman in Ethiopia that's 2 million
that's
years
low,
old,
bro.
and the ones in Congo older than that.
Nah.
You're not going to tell me
I don't
that we're
agree with that.
6,000 years old.
I don't
They
agree
do
with
that because that's how old the Hebrews are.
I don't agree with
So
that.
they have to reduce everybody else to that. You know why? Because if they admit civilization is older than 6,000 years old, do you know what that means? And if Adam and Eve is the basis of the religion, that's where God, it all begins from Adam and Eve, right? If you prove they weren't the first man and woman, we got a very big problem with the authenticity of the Bible. You see that?
But have they been
And guess
proven?
what?
Have
They weren't the first.
haven't been
Because
proven.
mankind didn't originate in the Tigris Euphrates
It has
River
not
Valley.
been proven.
You know what we know? There's been 6 stages of modern man. 6. Proven. 6.
We don't
and guess
know
where all,
that he
no, we
didn't
do know. We do
originate
know.
'cause he was
And guess where
kicked
they all
out.
come from?
Remember, he was kicked out
Africa.
of where he was originated from,
Africa,
bro.
bro.
So now you got to go to the scripture and see when Adam was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. The Bible tells you approximately how far they got kicked out. All that stuff is there. Then look
What
when
they got to do
Cain
with your
killed
6,000
wait.
years, though?
Then look when Cain killed Abel and see where he was kicked out.
What they got to do with your 6,000 years?
I'm trying to show you it's all going to come with the 6,000
And the Cain
years.
killing Abel, that was stolen.
You're not going to
That
find
was stolen
nothing.
from Heru versus
You're not going
Set.
to find nothing.
And the virgin
that's
birth was
beyond
also
6,000
stolen
years.
from Asaru.
The pharaohs, the pharaohs
okay.
we talk about, all that stuff we talk about is within
every one of the
6,000
main
years.
biblical concepts were stolen
All
from
those
African
pharaohs we
concepts.
talk about, Imhotep, all of them, all
Christ-
that is within
Christ don't
6,000
belong to
years.
Christianity.
So what I try to
Christ
say,
pre-
tell me one significant.
Let's close it out, Bigga, so
before
we can.
6,000 years.
I can hit this road.
Yeah, definitely. We are. I think we.
Let me do a quick text
Oh,
to
yeah.
my mom aide.
Or between revolutionaries and Christ-like followers.
Revolution or religion?
Revolution
Choose your side.
or religion.
Revolution
They all did
or
one
religion?
thing
Ain't no
in
side. We both on
common.
the same side.
No, we
They
ain't.
Yeah, we
Not
both
with
on
no
the same
6,000
side.
years. You ain't dismissing my
we
ancestors'
both on the same
contributions to
side,
human
bro.
history.
We both on the same side.
Do you know we were smelting iron?
Love, positivity.
Africans were smelting iron before 6,000 years. We were making weapons before 6,000 years. Pyramid building began before 6,000 years. Brother, please, please.
But we
And-
just looked it up and it said 4,500 years.
And
Brother, you was on Wikipedia. There wasn't no scientific
All right.
text with no
And
evidence
what
and
was
carbon
you on?
dating.
What was you on? That's what I'm saying. It's obviously a debate. You can't present
This is
to
what I
the
want you
world
to
like
do.
this ain't a debate, bro.
It's not a debate. It's not a debate. It's only a debate for those who refuse to accept the truth.
It is. I guess it's not only me. I guess it's Wikipedia
I want you
and
to
a
read
whole
some.
lot
Have
of
you ever
other
heard of
people
Dr.
in
Ben?
the world.
Have you ever heard
I
of
guess
Dr.
it's a
Ben?
whole
Bigga,
lot of people
Bigga.
educated that.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Ben?
Of course I know.
You know Dr. Ben,
Of course.
Yusuf. You need to read his books then. Because he was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew, a descendant of original black Hebrews. Please read Africa, Mother of Western Religions. Africa, Mother of Civilization.
I'ma tell
we
you.
the black Jews.
I'ma
It dismantled all his
I'ma
whole
tell you
thing.
something
Read
about
Dr. Ben. It's over.
Dr. Ben is
Have you
my
read
uncle.
Read Dr. Ben.
Dr. Ben is my uncle. Okay?
If Dr. Ben is your, where you get all this thing? Where you
That
get
don't
6,000
mean-
years?
That don't mean that I'm going to sign up with him. But Dr. Ben
Close
is
it
my
out.
uncle.
In closure, this has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your life force and your energy.
I enjoyed myself. Thank you,
always.
Queen.
I am looking forward to the grand opening and also the trip to the Congo so we can see some of this history.
Older than
artifacts.
6,000.
I cannot wait.
Or maybe not.
Much older than 6,000.
Or maybe not.
We will be there.
6,000. Come on, bro.
And we Audi 5,000.
Peace. We love y'all.
Yeah.